is March 17th, 2026. Happy St. Patty's Day. This is the Westchester Borough Council meeting work session, and it is 6:30 p.m. We can start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian Travis, why don't you, since you just got back to the country, you can start. To the flag of the States of America, to the republic, All right, we got a few announcements. Bear with me. All right. A, we have a public hearing tomorrow night, March 18th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. This is an ordinance of the Borough of Westchester, Chester County, Pennsylvania, to require Borough Council approval prior to any participation by the Westchester Police Department in Immigration Enforcement Authority under Section 287G of the Immigration and Nationality Act. B, we have conditional use hearing on March 23rd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. That's Monday, to consider and possibly approve the conditional use application filed by Westchester University of the State System of Higher Education. Applicant seeks conditional use approval pursuant to Section 112-314 of the Borough Zoning Ordinance for approval of the University Campus Plan, which is dated January 2025 and prepared by Ewing Cole. The University Campus Plan is a master plan for proposed development of property owned by the university located in the Borough of Westchester and zoned Planned University Campus District. C, tomorrow, Wednesday, March 18th, there's Westchester Borough Council Listening Session, Town Hall. Again, Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, 12:30 to 1 p.m. at the Westchester Area Senior Center, 530 East Union Street, Westchester, PA, 19382. All are welcome. D, SEPTA has a community open house to present changes coming to the SEPTA bus routes in the neighborhood on April 2nd, 2026 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in room 232 at Borough Hall. And E, we'd like to announce the recognition of employee anniversaries. Ken Massey has been here for 5 years. So thanks, Ken, for everything, and good job on the first 5 years. Hopefully there's 5 more, 10 more, all that good stuff. Any other announcements? Okay, then we'll move on to comments. Comments, suggestions, petitions by residents, taxpayers, and visitors in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. And please be advised that there is a 5-minute time limit that's at the discretion of myself.
Ann Carroll, 506 South Franklin Street, and chairperson of Case Civic Action Southeast. May I ask a question about one of the announcements? The listening session, can you explain the genesis of that and the purpose of that? And is this an ongoing kind of thing?
We don't know yet. I'm a volunteer at the Westchester Area Senior Center. I help run their food pantry. And they asked whether we could get some of the council people out to just kind of come out and have a meet and greet and listen to the seniors and whoever else wants to come. So that's all it is. If we get a good turnout, maybe we'll make it quarterly, monthly. We'll see. Come on over.
Thank you. All right. And my other purpose for being here, I spoke to the Public Works Committee about Goose Creek, and I promised some pictures. So I brought them with me tonight and a video. So if we could start with the video, please. This is what actually happened in Goose Creek, located a mile or so from the Atmos by road distance. This is a yard of my neighbor on South Franklin and Neild Street, and that is what it looked like. You will notice the foam, the bubbles, the film, the yada yada. And then we have a series of photographs which show the various conditions. That is the dead American river eel. he and his family, if he had any. They just appeared last year and they're gone now. That is the sediment that is left on the bed and the rocks of the stream after everything had gone away. The water was clear, but the sediment in two places, one being the Public Works Lacey Bridge, the other being the Neal Bridge. Those are where I took the photos from. And that was Sunday morning. Next one. More sediment in my neighbor's yard, creek area. Oh, sorry, that's not supposed to be there. Well, that's the wildlife that may have been endangered. Sorry, that one either. Go ahead. And this is what we normally get to see in our neighborhood, the beauties of the neighborhood. Are the dead fish there? They should be there somewhere. That's it.
I think we passed the.
Yeah,
I
you
did
got
see
the
a
message, but
picture.
the other one was the 4 or 5 or 6. That was the result. And Atmos is denying that their substance was toxic, but I guarantee you it is. So what I ask tonight, I noticed that you're having a Council of Governments meeting this week, or next week.
It's Thursday afternoon.
Okay. I would ask that particularly you talk with West Goshen and perhaps share these pictures with them, because no one from Atmos down, there are no homes endangered in West Goshen from that release. So the first homes that were endangered were the 2nd Ward and the 4th Ward. And they're actually homes that border these properties. Or properties that border this creek. And I would ask that you talk to West Goshen. One of the important things that DEP requires is that there be a dry test of all outlet pipes to the creek annually. I want to make sure, and I would like you as government officials to make sure that not only are we doing that, but West Goshen is doing it. From the condition of the pipe, which could be seen after the event, there's been stuff coming out of that pipe that is not rainwater for a very long time. So I thank you for please stepping that up to the Council of Governments level also.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone in attendance? Okay, seeing.
I have a question, Ms. Carroll. Can you hear me? Those photos you took, were they in both wards or one ward or?
I took them from my neighborhood. So I did not go down into the 2nd Ward. Mainly the creek flows along the railroad tracks and then crosses underground when it gets toward Market Street. So that was an area that I was not willing to traverse. It's just brambly and difficult to see. So that was Public Works down to Neal's at the bridges where I could clearly get a shot.
All right, I do have one more comment. Many of you may be wanting to come up to the podium and say, it's cold in here. It is a little cold in here. Our HVAC is not quite running properly right now, so we apologize. Feel free to keep on your hats and your jackets and everything. I was supposed to announce that actually during announcements, but just so you guys know, it's a little chilly. We're getting it looked at. I believe there were no other comments, so I'm going to move on to reports and presentations. Westchester Borough Planning Commission Annual Report.
It's cold in here. So, yeah. All right, Jim Cherry, Chair of the Planning Commission, of your Planning Commission. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes here to present our 2025 annual report prepared by Matt Clapp, who is our secretary. If you want to slide through, Bill, to the first page, it's broken up pretty simply into a table of contents. A couple major pieces. There's the executive summary. It starts off with the executive summary, which is just basically 2 pages, and it really gives a nice quick graphic introduction to the piece, and then the subdivision and land development applications, as well as the ordinance of community planning. So if you want to switch to the executive summary to this page is great. And this is the saldo, or the subdivision and land development ordinances. That's actually projects that the Planning Commission reviews. There was really only two substantial projects that were, or any project that were reviewed in 2025. One was at the Elks property, Elks Club, which was just basically a straightening out of the property lines. There was the, I think it's the Waverly Apartments next door, just to kind of clean that up, keep everybody on their same own properties there. And then the other one was 210, 214 West Washington Street, which is the old Yarnell's garage, and that was going to be a 8-unit townhome development, which are for sale owner occupied townhouses. The next page is some of the procedures and ordinances amendments. So we're kind of a proactive planning commission. We're taking a look at and trying to clean up a lot of the existing. There's two major chapters: zoning, which is 97, and Saldo 112, or the other way around, 112 and 197. But we're starting with definitions and cleaning up some of the any ambiguous language, and just kind of getting something to a little more to stand on, a little more stable footing. I'd like to at least point out the one highlight was the unified residential development and ordinances. Closer to the bottom of the screen there. That one is a by right use that we added to the town center, which gives a developer the ability or opportunity to develop a residential community, a little higher density. And we're going to see the impact of that probably very soon, within the next month or two, specific to the Burger King property, or the 410 South High Street. Where they're looking to come in and reimagine or revisit that previous development. But this time it'll be again, for sale townhomes, a little higher density. But the intent there is to provide, it's all relative, but attainable housing, something that provides a product. It's a little bit mixed use within that development. It'll be single units that are single family attached dwellings, as well as, I call them duplexes, but basically stacked. That gives a little bit lower of a price point. So that one building provides homes for two people. So it helps kind of spread the cost of that land out over 2 units instead of one. So that's where density helps kind of reduce the purchase price for houses. Just another couple of quick ones is we meet the first Monday and the second Monday of each month. So that is a different time and date for, well, same time, different date for the Planning Commission to meet. I know members of council have attended those meetings, but I certainly would welcome both anybody from council to attend those meetings, as well as anybody from the public. Welcome to, we'd love to hear from you, but attend and participate in those. So I think that's about it. For pretty simple. I didn't bring Matt Clapp. He makes me look short when he stands next to me. So. Any questions?
Questions?
Very good. Very good.
No.
Well, thank you very much.
That you guys do every year. Looking forward to seeing what additional work you do this year.
You and me both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, the Borough Managers Report.
Good evening. Thank you. Yes. Yes. You guys have a really top-notch planning commission, so I just want to take a second to acknowledge Jim and the crew for doing such a good job. I've been a consultant to many planning commissions in my prior job, and you've got a really good one. So I just wanted you all to know that, if you didn't already know that.
Agreed.
Indulge me a little bit here. Happy St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick was a 5th century missionary thought to be from present-day Britain, captured by pirates, escaping and returning years later to spread Christianity to the Irish people. In modern times, the holiday has become associated with celebrating Ireland's most famous export, its people. It's also personal to me. Sometime in the late 1920s, Gene Phillips and John Moynihan embarked ships, perhaps in Galway, bound for America as 12 and 14-year-olds, never to return to the island. In Philadelphia, they would settle with relatives and later meet and marry. John served in the U.S. Army in World War II. The couple owned a 3-story row home in Germantown. They let out the 3rd floor to tenants. Think about managing that. I don't know if Aaron's in the room. And raised 2 girls, one of whom grew up to be my mom. So when I think about my Irish heritage, I reflect on being separated from home, an immigrant by definition, but never a stranger. For me, St. Patrick's Day is about honoring all who came to America, and let's not forget the many who came here not by their own choice, to start anew and live in peace. Thank you.
Very nice.
I have 2 sections of tonight's report. The first is communication and engagement. Very excited about this. I want to celebrate our progress we're making. I'd like to announce that residents can sign up for our monthly e-newsletter called the Borough Bulletin and have it delivered to their inbox. The first edition is coming out April 15th, your favorite day of the year. Bill, can you show people how to sign up on our homepage? If you go to our Borough homepage, we've posted so it has to check and make sure you're a human being first. I'm glad to see you're human, Bill.
Good security.
All we need is your name and your email address. It's simple as that. And then the newsletter will be delivered to your inbox, and people who subscribe can unsubscribe at a later date. We get to manage the subscription list, and we have settled on a provider. We have selected a platform and a layout, and staff will be looking for contributions from council as well to future newsletters. I think we hit Nicole up for the first edition. Additionally, we're wrapping up our Welcome to Westchester guide, which will be published in April as well. Our plan is to use the property transfer data that we get monthly. We had 18 property transfers in the borough in January, and send them each a postcard in the mail. And there'll be a QR code on that postcard, which will drive them to the PDF we'll have on our website to connect them to borough's services. We're also developing a sister piece to this that'll be geared towards Westchester University students to aid in our communication with them. And we'll collaborate with Westchester University to get that published and QR codes put out in their outreach to new students. Following with these 2 initiatives, with the help of our extraordinary executive assistant to my left, the volunteer opportunity webpage will be relaunched. Driving engagement with community and borough events, service on our boards and commissions. The people that came here to interview tonight who might not get an opportunity, we'll keep that contact resource together, and we will continue to drive engagement with the borough and also talk about how to get involved in elected office. And there could be a good mentorship possibility for anybody here to talk to the people who are coming up. Our parks and recreation pages are almost complete with better navigation, simpler interfaces for learning, reservations, and sponsorships. I've challenged the team to expand the pages for borough-sponsored events, highlighting what we do. And also, we are resurrecting the Notify Me portion of our Civic Plus web pages. You're going to have to, if you want to get your notifications delivered by email or text, you're going to have to sign up and get a Civic Plus account. There's no other way to do it. But we're going to limit the number of channels that we're going to push out on so we don't overdo it with the possibilities. Right now, it's kind of like cable TV. There's like 75 things to watch and nothing anyone's interested in. So we're going to pare it down to a few things. Lastly, I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about the big project that's going on downtown on Gay Street. If you've noticed, we're tearing up Gay Street again. And we're going to be putting in removable bollards to aid with the closure of Gay Street. And there are some businesses that are impacted by that. We're leaking out over the sidewalk into out over the cartway into sidewalk areas. We're impacting businesses, especially on Darlington Street, where we want to get that part of the project done as soon as possible. One thing did happen when we were doing some excavation. We uncovered electrical services that were not identified in the original markout. Those are the lines that supply your streetlights. And so therefore, a time and materials allowance was approved in the amount of $35,000 to get these conduits rerun and relocated out and around where the bollards need to go. The contract bid was awarded at 1.7 million, contains 100,000 of construction allowance to which this cost will be accounted towards. However, we'll keep you informed, Borough Council, of any additional changes and plans that come along, and we'll look to gain your approval for any changes where the total of those allowances are over 10% of the bid amount, or $170,000. Once the concrete foundations are poured, our traffic pattern downtown is going to change. We're going to have to close traffic to those sections of Gay Street for enough time for the concrete to cure. You can't run heavy anything over concrete until it's cured, and that just takes time. And the colder the temperature is, the more time you need. But right now we're thinking when that is poured, we're going to need at least a week with no traffic on Gay Street. So we'll be using the familiar traffic pattern we have for the closure, where traffic in our downtown area is diverted onto Chestnut Street. But that change will be coming in the near future to traffic patterns downtown. And we are keeping you all informed, as well as businesses, with the help of the Westchester Business Improvement District. And we're getting updates from the contractor every 2 weeks for the work that they're doing for the next 2 weeks. So we're trying to keep everybody downtown well informed about what's happening next. And that concludes my remarks on my monthly report.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone?
No questions, just a quick thank you for all the communication things. As you all know, the Administration, Communication, and Technology Committee, one of our goals this year is to really improve that information exchange. And these are great first steps. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're just going to get better and better. It's just like working out. I mean, if you try the exercise for the first time in a while, your muscles will be sore, but you keep doing it and you get better and better.
Well, thank you. We have a question from those in attendance for you as well.
Ann Carroll, 506 South Franklin Street. Mr. Mann, can you roll back to the newsletter sign-up thingy page on the website? Because that's what my question, yeah. Back at the bottom of that form where you put your name on the form, yeah, it says, by submitting this form, you are consenting to receive marketing emails. What do we mean by marketing emails? Is that just we're marketing ourselves? Because I think that's misleading. I'm now expecting to get spammed. So is that what's happening, or is it just?
We could change that language. That's just generic language. We will change that so it doesn't say marketing.
Yeah, I would, unless you're, and that's the other thing, I would like to see an assurance on there that makes people want to sign up. People don't like to sign up on these forms because they think you are selling their information or sharing it. So I would love to see the marketing removed and a statement that says this information is for the use of the borough only to share information about the borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reading the fine print, Ann, because I'll tell you, I probably would not. So great feedback, great feedback. And I agree with the other comments, Sean, that thank you very much for your report. That was very informative this month. So thank you, all the work. Moving on to old business, approve February 17th and 18th Borough Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Is everyone okay with that to move to consent? Okay. Consent. Okay. And then we have any questions from those in attendance on those minutes? Okay. All right, new business. We have interviews for committees and commissions. Our first is the Civil Service Commission. It's an alternate position. Christian Dubs is interviewing. Come on down, Christian. All of these tonight, we have one opening, right, for each of the roles. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, my name's Christian Dubs. I live at 555 West Marshall Street in the Borough. I'm applying for the Civil Service Commission in an alternate role, as this role helps with the hiring of police officers in the borough. I've spent 20 years in talent acquisition at various Fortune 500 to 100 companies. And I'm very familiar with the talent acquisition process, EEOC, Americans with Disabilities Act, and various other hiring bodies that you must work with and adhere to their rulings in this role. Did anyone have any questions for me?
I do like the point where it said seasoned talents. So that tells me people with the color hair I have.
Looks kind of salt and pepper to me.
Yeah, well, good. Okay. Yeah,
Fair, so that's.
I do have hair.
I do not, so I'll trade with you any day of the week.
Be careful, Jerry. Oh my God, you said the wrong thing. When you go to interview someone for a position,
Mhm.
okay, what is the toughest question that you would ask someone that wanted to change positions from one company to another?
Honestly, I'd be looking for an honest answer, at least an answer that comes across as honest of why are you making the change? So currently I'm working at Vanguard. The market is not great right now. And when I interview for roles in my specialty, I say the market has been down. I need to put food on the table for my family. So I have taken a role with a well-respected employer that is outside of my scope, but still tangentially associated, as I'm still dealing with 401ks, which are part of your benefits, so still HR related. Take their answer, make sure it makes sense, make sure that the role that they're aligning with also aligns with what they are saying that their goals are, to make sure that it's a good fit on both sides.
Did you by any chance read the requirements for the civil service to see what the commission actually does?
I did. It's been a while though, I'll be honest.
The alternate
Mhm.
Can attend the meetings, but they have to be silent. If someone's not available,
Mhm.
I guess at that point, they ask you to join in. Are you willing to put the time in and not be very productive if they have a full slate? Because we don't do it a whole lot, maybe once a year or whatever. So are you willing to, put the time in to learn it, to be the alternate?
Yes, as I feel that even the alternate, eventually it would have the potential to move on to the regular, I would assume.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have one question. Is your schedule pretty flexible? Because coincidentally, the civil service will be active in the next few months because they will be looking to hire police officers because we are down several officers. So you have to have a flexible schedule because they don't typically meet in the evening. They usually meet during the day. So is that possible?
Yes, it can be coordinated with my employer.
Thank you, guys. Any other questions? Thank you. With you being one applicant and we have one role open,
Okay.
we'll let you know tomorrow, but
Okay.
odds are pretty good. All right. Moving on to the Tree Commission, Michelle DiCaprio.
Good evening, council members and Mayor DeBaptiste. Thank you for your time. I'm a resident of 334 Old Bailey Lane in Thornbury Township. I'm happy to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm newer to the area. I returned to the United States in July of this past year with my husband and our young daughter. Previously, I was serving the federal government abroad as a diplomat and director with the United States Agency for International Development, where I directed and oversaw a $70 million portfolio managing peace and security in Southern Africa. Unfortunately, I was one of the illegally fired federal workers you may have heard of. And so over the past 6 to 7 months, I've really been searching for opportunities to contribute and give back to the community and to just have more experience with local government and to give back because it's been a tough time. And I've really enjoyed my time in that position previously. And I would love to leverage my project management opportunities with this one. And so it would be an honor of mine to serve with the commission and to help in any way possible. I'm not an arborist or a tree expert, but in speaking with the lead of the commission, they really need someone to help manage activities and to oversee the planning and maintenance of trees in the community, of which I would be happy to do. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
I mean, I just want to say your resume is impressive.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I don't know what to say. What's your favorite tree?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would like to say any flowering tree, but probably in particular, this is not a flowering tree to my knowledge, but maybe a weeping willow. Yeah, not because I'm not naturally a somber person, but I just love that. Yeah, how beautiful they are.
The palmetto tree, but anyway.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Well, thank you. Similar to Christian, we have one opening and one applicant. So
Okay.
we will make our vote tomorrow, but your odds are also very good.
All right, great. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And they do have good resumes too. It's
Yeah. No,
you're a warm body and we need a warm body. That's not.
that's not, yeah. Thank you.
You guys are qualified.
All right, the Westchester Community Campus Committee. This is for the business owner role. Christopher Ferrio. Did I say that right? Hi.
So before I start, I just wanted to thank Mayor and Council for allowing me to be here to answer your questions. So I am Chris Ferrio, as you said. I own Founds Ferrio Cremation and Burial Services, 229 South High Street on south end of town, formerly Founds Funeral Home, for those of you that know it that way. For those that are even older, it was Casper Hicks Funeral Home as it started. So I own one of the closest businesses to the university without being directly connected to the university. Not a bar, not a restaurant. I don't have pizza. I'm not a vape, but I'm a separate business. Because of that, I feel I'm especially qualified to serve on this committee. I'm a neutral party. I'm exposed firsthand on a daily basis to both the good and bad elements of the university and community dynamic. The university students are a vital part of our fabric of our town. The university is in our town, but our town is part of the university, and they can't be separated easily. The students are becoming leaders of tomorrow, and I have to say that most of what I think about them is just absolutely positive. It's amazing to see this university in our town. It's a national caliber university, and it's becoming better and better every year. However, there are some problems, and I think the problems are both Borough and the university. The university doesn't always know what's happening in the Borough. The kids don't necessarily understand that they're living in a town with residents. They think that there are people who are all connected to the university. I hear it all the time. Also, they're kids. So I've seen vandalism. I've experienced vandalism.
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. I'm probably too tall for the microphone. So I've seen vandalism and experienced vandalism. A couple months, maybe a year ago, my garage door was smashed in with a brick that came out of my sidewalk. There's parking issues, large crowds. And because of owning a funeral home connected to the university, I have to be aware of everything that's going on in town. The Gay Street closure How would people get to St. Agnes? When I have an obituary, I have to explain that because when they can't get there, it's my fault. I have St. Patrick's Day to worry about. There can't be a funeral at the funeral home on St. Patrick's Day weekend because 3 doors down, there's going to be a party of 200 people. A homecoming, there can't be a funeral on homecoming weekend because of everything that happens. So I have to kind of have my handle on what's happening in the borough at all times, university and borough. I'm right in the middle. Be happy to answer any questions you have at this point.
I do. How do you go from working at Vanguard to be a funeral director?
So when I was
Thinking about career
No,
paths,
no, I
Brian.
mean, I've been there 19 years, but it's never crossed my mind.
So
Do that.
I did not grow up in Westchester. I came here at college time. My wife went here. So I was a weekly visitor while I was at school in Maryland, but we dated all through high school. But the town I did grow up in had a funeral home for every couple hundred people. There was 3,000 people in the town, but I think there were 6 funeral homes when I was a kid. One of them happened to be on our corner. I started delivering newspapers in that neighborhood when I was 7 years old, and I had that job until I was 16. It was an afternoon newspaper, and I knew everybody in our neighborhood, and they were really old. So they would die, and I would go to their funerals without my parents. At 12 years old, I said, this is what I'm going to do. Much like Lillian, who probably said the same thing. I never really wanted to work at Vanguard, but I have a degree in economics and fine arts. And my job was as project manager. I redesigned their statements to make sure they were economically sound, business sound, but also looked really nice. That project had a finite end. And when I was done it, I decided it was time to leave. So that's how you go about that. Sure.
I wrote down 3 questions for each one of the people that are interested in participating in it, because this is very important committee because of the interaction between the residents, the borough, and the university and the students. It's very important to do that. So the first question is, how long have you been at the funeral? How long have you been in business here?
So I started in business in the borough when Boyd's still existed. So it was 2003. When they closed, I had to leave and then came back to the funeral home in 2011. And I've owned it since 2019. But we've been here in Westchester for almost 30 years.
Any other capacity that you would you do in the borough at all? Do you volunteer anywhere? Or do you just, pretty much do your job?
No, I don't. I do. My job is volunteering. My job is being part of the borough. My job is being seen in the borough. Otherwise, I don't have a job. Part of Rotary. I'm part of Business Improvement District. I'm part of my church, St. Agnes. I'm in the borough, although I don't live in the borough. I live in Westtown officially. I'm in the borough probably 75% of my time doing something for the borough.
Do you have any property rentals at all?
Yes, there is one. It is not a student rental above the garage.
So you have one, okay.
Mhm.
So he's not applying for the rental. There's 2
Yeah,
positions.
the 2 positions,
Yeah,
yeah. I want to ask I learned this from Mr. Marvin. Because Mr. Marvin last time asked the same question to all 3 people. And I said, that's a pretty good idea.
There you go.
See, I do learn from you there, Stephen. You are. In the event that you have somebody that's unruly in your rental above the garage, how would you address that? Would you ask them to leave? How would you? You're running a very family-oriented business right there.
As luck would have it, the person renting above the garage is a 35-year-old funeral director. So there's not a whole lot of unruly happening. But yes, that is a concern, is who's renting that. I would rather leave it empty than risk my business. And so really that's the answer.
The 3 questions.
There you go.
So the guys behind you are going to get the same one.
So now
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
No, I don't have a question, but I know your experience in the community, and I think you'd be excellent for this group.
Thank you.
Well, similarly, I will say, and this number 3, because you are going for the business owner role, 1 applicant, 1 role, and we all seem pretty impressed. So outlook's good for you too. We'll let you know tomorrow. All right, but now moving on, here's the role there. There's one role, two potential candidates. So you guys are vying for this last role, and we'll start with Orazio Nastase. And this is for the Westchester Community Campus Student Housing Permit Holder Committee member.
Good evening. Happy St. Patty's Day. I also own Jake's Bar, so today's a pretty special day for us too. Good evening. My name's Orazio Nastis. Born and raised in Westchester. Went to Villanova University, graduated with a civil engineering degree. Basically left the area for a while and then came back in 2001 due to family health issues. And I've been here ever since. Family has been in student rentals long before I was born. I have taken that over because I am the last of the family. We have 24 student rental permits. I truly believe that this community campus committee it's genius because it's something that we definitely needed to strengthen the collaboration amongst the borough of Westchester, its residents, and the university. Because amazingly enough, you all know that Westchester is a very unique community because the success of the university and the well-being of its residents are directly connected, hand in hand. I basically deal with students. I deal with the neighbors. I deal with just about every aspect you can think of. And I would love to have the opportunity to give my insight towards the committee and basically help in the collaboration and the communication that basically makes this town so awesome. So, any questions?
Pretty much answered everything as I was going along, but I'm going to do it anyway.
No, please do, Mr.
That
Flynn.
way there. So what my takeaway so far is you live in the borough, which is good. You own a business in the borough and you're a landlord. So you kind of like check off all those boxes. But you told us how long has Jake's Bar been there?
It's been Jake's Bar since 1974. It was J&R's, which was Jake's and Rose's, who was his sister in the 60s. And before that, it was named after their husbands or my aunt's husband, because I guess people weren't allowed to drink in bars that were named after women.
So how long has your family owned the bar?
The corporation has been in existence since 1960.
Okay. I can tell you that I've been to Rome, walking in the Vatican. There's a Jake's Bar shirt walking in. I've been to Paris, sitting at the Louvre. There's a Jake. You must make a fortune on T-shirts because
we sell them at cost, Bernie.
Okay, they're everywhere.
Free advertising.
They're everywhere. I love it.
So thank you.
And when I was in Ireland, Galway, of course, there was one there, and I asked every one of them, "Where'd you get the shirt?" And of course, they all went to Westchester University. So and what other capacity do you actually volunteer with?
So I coach football a lot for CYO. Ultimately, I have 3 children of my own. One's 19. He's out at Carnegie Mellon now studying mechanical engineering. My 2 daughters are 17 and 15. They're over at Villa Maria. As far as volunteering, anything, anywhere I can help, I do.
You did say you have 27 student leases.
24.
24 student leases.
Yes.
Do your apartments get inspected regularly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to check to make sure.
Absolutely. No, trust me, I'm amazed that not all of them do.
And then, let's see. Any other business that you run in the borough other than Jake's Bar and your rentals?
Jake's Bar, commercial real estate. I have 3 other commercial buildings. We own Rigtown. Obviously, that's the building connected to Jake's. And then a carpenter shop and a barber shop. But that's just, I only own the bricks. I don't run the business.
Right. Those are the 3 questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
I
else?
just have one question.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that your business, you have basically a lot of hands in the pot, right? You have student rentals, you have
Yes, I do.
issues with residents.
Yes, I do.
What do you see? And you praised the fact that we stood up this committee probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. And there's been some progress here, but what do you see, having all those different hats, wearing all those different hats, what do you see as the biggest opportunity in joining this community? Have you attended any of the meetings before? Do you know much about what they've done in the past, the progress, so on and so forth? So if you were to be part of this committee, what would you bring to the table?
So, Brian, awesome question. And again, obviously, I live in a world where if it's not broke, we don't fix it. So the committee's been doing phenomenal thus far. However, I believe it's ever changing. For instance, one of the rentals I have is on Dean Street. Dean Street, there's a student rental and there's a resident on one side and a resident on the other. Amazingly enough, the one resident was actually a resident whenever I lived in that property back in early 2000. The other resident has basically, it keeps changing, it keeps selling. And, amazingly enough, like the borough residents that I deal with, like for instance, now there's a young couple that just had 2 children, and they are phenomenal. Tim and, please forgive me, I forget her name, but just absolutely incredible people. And they live next to a student rental. So my job is to make sure that they are having the experience that I'd want to have if I lived next to a student rental and was raising young children. I guess what I would bring to the table is I basically deal with the residents. I deal with the students. I deal, with every single aspect that you can think of. And to basically bring that, perspective, I think is what I'm a little bit different at. I'm also someone, and you guys are probably going to think I'm insane, but I refuse to hire a property manager because I believe that it is my responsibility to basically make sure that the residents and the students basically get along. And how we do that is we are constantly involved.
Thank you.
One question I always like to ask applicants for any job is, do you think there are areas of opportunity that you would like to attack, maybe in first steps of your assuming the position?
And back to Brian, just thinking about this, like it has come light years with the university and the borough's relationship, I believe. Like, for instance, just things that I'm thinking of, parking or graduation, and the signs are up. You know what I mean? The PennDOT sign saying graduation this weekend or parking this weekend or whatever it is. I do believe, for instance, possibly working on not having the mass exodus, like the some of the leases with a few of the properties that I've acquisitioned, the leases end on the 14th of May. So therefore you have graduation, you have move outs, you have just a huge conglomerate of issues. I believe through communication and collaboration, it is something that we could kind of relieve a little bit of the pressure, the stress. But again, that has to do with landlord cooperation, tenant cooperation, university cooperation, and borough council cooperation. These are all things that we need to basically work together towards to solve. Thank you. Yeah.
I had one question.
Yes, Mayor.
Has any of your properties in the last few years had any points assigned to?
0. Thank you.
One other question. Perhaps you'll have input, if chosen, to figure out a way to have some of the students, not all of them, but it's always a few who make the difference, learn to be more respectful to their neighbors. So you can think of some ideas for that.
Well, and I believe, Mayor, that is something that I have, a lot of experience in doing. I do believe that, and a lot of times it's communication, if, and again, I am big into, hey, listen, when you move in as a student, like introduce yourself to your neighbor, give them your phone number. You know what I mean? And obviously, I believe that the landlord should have the phone numbers of the neighbors next to their student rentals so that if there is an issue, that is something that usually can be resolved if communication is a part of it. Now, again, you know, if they're throwing high school ragers and stuff like that, yeah, that's definitely something that the landlord needs to step in and basically interact with. But ultimately, a lot of times, I know over on Dean Street, for instance, the one neighbor, they bake cookies for their neighbors now. Like that's the relationship that they have. I mean, this is kind of what we want to work towards. Again, like, you know, it's possible. It is possible. It's just something that, you know, we have to be involved with as landlords and as students and as neighbors. That's how it works.
I think the mayor kind of asked my question, but if you received any citations in the past, have there been lessons learned?
Unfortunately, I haven't
Haven't
received any
received any.
citations. I just, you know, I live a pretty simple life that if there's something I correct, you're not going to find out about it because it gets corrected before it needs to be corrected. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, we've also got Fran Orabono.
Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity. Make sure everybody can hear me in the back. Fran Arbono. I live in East Goshen with my wife, Elizabeth, and my 3 children, Michael, Mary, and Lily. I currently own 4 properties in the borough that are non-student rentals and 1 facility or 1 building on High Street, 315 South High Street, the rooming house. And that was quite an experience buying that house. I was fortunate to sell a piece of property in Philadelphia and able to do a 1031 exchange. But the reason why I'm up here is everything that I went through to learn and the challenges. I heard, you know, points and, you know, that house and how bad it was with receiving points and the behavior and the work that we did to really improve the relationship with the neighbors. I've met most, if not all of my neighbors in the rear of the building. And we've done a lot to make improvements to that house. And as I've learned more about Chapter 66 and realizing that a lot of landlords aren't even familiar with it, let alone knowing how to incorporate that in their rules and regulations, it was something that I was already doing, maybe not exactly by the letter of Chapter 66, but I was already doing that with my other properties just because of my business sense and entrepreneurial spirits to run a business properly and so forth, and was able to implement as a condition of sale Chapter 66, an amendment to tenants and guarantors on a lease that I was inheriting. And that's not, I'm not here to brag about that, but I'm here to just talk about the efforts that I make to have rental properties in the Westchester area. Because at one point, when we were running out of time on our 1031 exchange, we were ready to just give up because we weren't interested in investing, my partner and I, in other communities. We really wanted to continue to invest in Westchester. And one of the things I had written about on my bio is my son, who's 26 with autism, and with his waiver, I would love the ability to find a way in the community to have a house and it be community living and be able to work with the borough, with the college and surrounding businesses to be able to promote jobs for adults with disabilities and things like that. And what you get from me is somebody that's hands-on. I'm on the front line. You know, when you look at my resume that I shared and the different businesses I've been involved in, you know, as we've heard from others, I don't hire people other than it's a professional like a lawyer or an accountant to take care of things. You know, my brother and I are on the front line, and we really, you know, put all the effort into, you know, making a difference. And what you'll get from me is a relationship person. You know, all of my neighbors have my phone number and, you know, I respond, I react. I'm pretty forthcoming and transparent with, my actions to get things done. And I feel I could be a very good fit for the opportunity. One, I'll learn a lot, and two, I'll be able to advise and just continue to help cultivate, opportunities for these committees and these councils to improve. Any questions?
Are you ready?
Bring it on.
You should know the answers by now. This was a bell curve for you.
You want to know how I'll handle a difficult tenant, right? It's not, right?
The first one is, how long have you been associated with the borough? When did you start buying the 4 properties?
2015 is when I first purchased 116 South Darlington. And what I'd like the group to know is the ability to buy those properties that I own was done by myself and my brother. We're not, from a generational family. We did it on our own, but 2015.
And I just found out, reading his bio, that he owns a property across the street from my house. He lives in the Magic Mile, 316 West Minor. Do you volunteer at all? Anything in the borough, like blood drives, Boy Scouts, anything other than growing your businesses?
I currently do not, no.
Okay.
I'm involved in Boy Scouts, but with my son's Boy Scouts, which is a adaptive special needs out of Malvern.
Yeah, I saw that in your information. Do you operate any other businesses in the borough other than your rental properties?
I do not.
No. And you already told us you have 4
Yes.
properties. The last one is, in the event of unruly rentals, how do you address your rentals, since you brought it up yourself? How do you address unruly rentals? You don't have that problem on West Minor Street because there are adults over there.
I did it one time. We had, yeah.
Music, oh yeah. Mrs. Walsh said she rocked in the middle of the night a couple of times, but they toned it down.
So if I have an issue with a tenant, depending on the severity of it, I'm going to try to talk with them and reason before I have to refer to the lease, or develop legal action. But, at the end of the day, the majority of the time I've had issues with tenants because the relationship I've built and transparency that I've been able to work through things. But my leases are very strong. They're written by attorneys. They're not, just the basic boilerplate. And if I have to exercise my right under my lease, I'll do it, but I try to resolve that. I'm a business guy, so I deal with contracts in all various types of businesses. And at the end of the day, what a good attorney will advise is try to work it out as 2 business people in a room. And normally I can work that out. Currently, we've had problems with trash issues with 315 South High. And my brother might say, hey, Fran, keep your filter on. When I was in California and I had a trash issue. But sometimes, you got to talk to people so they understand it. But we've been able to make a lot of improvements by, as I had mentioned in one of the meetings here, is getting those guys in shape and understanding why this ordinance is in place and why it's important, and helping them understand to keep costs down, right? These are the things we need your help with. But it basically just having a conversation and trying to work it out, be fair about the timing for them to cure the problem. And if it involves a neighbor, I will definitely keep that neighbor informed of what we're doing to the best of my ability, obviously. So.
Yes, am I to understand that your rental units are your business? That's your sole business?
It is not my sole business, Mayor. It is not.
Okay, it's not. Also, have any of your rental units had points assigned?
No, they do not. In fact, the house on 315 South High has 0 points.
That's not the one where they all congregate out front with the.
It is,
sippy
it is,
conferences.
Mayor. Yep.
It is?
But no, I have no points on any of my properties, including the student rental.
I'll just ask the same question that I did the other gentleman about, but going back to the committee. So
What's that?
Going back to the committee in terms of what you know about what this committee does, what its mission is, and what you would bring to the table. What would you bring to the table? The other gentleman mentioned perspective from multiple angles. What would you bring into this committee? How would you improve what's already been done?
Right. So what I'll bring to the committee is a fresh mind. I don't have any, prior experience with student rentals, right? I don't have a business in the rental, but I have a lot of experience, in other areas with rentals and, dealing with a lot of problems. When you look at my resume with the different businesses, the private equity groups I've been involved in, the ability to last that long in relationships, right? And to help, continue to improve. With me, you have an open mind. Okay, I can see things differently than maybe a group that's been kind of settled in, a community and dealing with problems and giving a different perspective on things. I can't speak specifically about specific areas that committee or the group is working on because I'm new to it, but very confident with my experience and my background, that I'm a very good listener and I'm very good at helping people keep an open mind and helping them think in ways that maybe they didn't think before to try to, do things differently for improvement.
Share that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same questions before. Do you think there are opportunities for improvement that you'd like to tackle should you assume this position?
I'm sorry.
Do you think there are any areas for improvement that you could tackle?
I do.
Stepped in. So
Yeah.
what would those be?
I feel reasonably confident the opportunity is for me to, get more involved with the student rental community, understand that community better. I don't know the names of what the different communities are, but just dealing with 315 South High and what I heard during my due diligence period, they need they need different leadership, right? They need someone to help mentor them, understand what's going on. Just the new group that I'm bringing in now for next school year and meeting with them way ahead of time and cultivating that relationship, right? Before they sign the lease, right? Before their parents even get the lease. And just really talking about expectations. So where I see I can make a difference is with the student body. And I say that because this is why. As a young kid, I didn't have a lot of confidence, right? If I had somebody mentoring me at a younger age or just speaking to me, like I said in my resume, I have a friend that's a business owner. We're having breakfast in the Borough, and he needs 3 guys for the summer, or 3 workers for the summer, don't be guys, to work on a construction crew, right? And next thing I know, right, I text all 17 guys, and I have 3 guys raising their hand and ready to go to work. Right. So I bring opportunity to the student body, whether it's finding opportunities for jobs, helping mentor, coaching, understanding why student rentals are so important, why the rules and regulations are so important. So I really believe I can make a difference because, again, as I said earlier, I'm pretty good at helping people think differently about things and looking at things differently. So.
Thank you.
I just want to make a couple comments. I just want to say everyone that came up here tonight, great backgrounds. I mean, it's not easy coming up here and talking in front of the. But Fran, Jack Williams Tire Company, Scranton, Pennsylvania. What was your favorite pizza place in Scranton?
So I gotta
from Scranton.
I gotta tell you, it's like eating. You're probably gonna not vote for me, right? I feel like I'm eating Ilios because it's stuck to the top of your mouth. But it's what's it begins with an R. It's in Old Forge, not Rosario's, but Ravello's or something.
Ravello's.
Yeah, that's it. That's the place I go to. And a little true story about that area. If you watch the Irishman movie, apparently there was a meal at one of those restaurants where Hoffa was last seen. So.
Right. No, I mean, I'm an Alfredo's guy. So
okay.
I like Alfredo's. So.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Any other super important questions here?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
I agree with Brian. We had a lot of great candidates
Yeah,
tonight, and
yeah.
I think you guys all.
You guys are
were
very
great.
fortunate. Thank you.
And,
Okay.
We will let you all know tomorrow.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Public Works. Yeah. Oh.
So Ann, obviously her and I have had a lot of interactions together being in the same neighborhood down there. She wanted to make it known that, is this a requirement that you are a borough resident? to be on the council.
Oh, Dana, go. There. I know she did all that. But she put them up there. So I,
Because I live out in East Bradford,
okay.
within 2 miles of the borough, but ultimately just to be,
Yeah, I think that's what it's more the business owner. I don't think
Okay.
Dana would have let you apply.
And Fran
Yeah,
from East
and-
Ocean.
Yeah, there are certain roles.
yeah,
where you
I don't
need-
want to waste your time. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you very much.
only fair, you know.
Dana said, no, you don't have to be a borough
Thank you.
resident specifically.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt again. If I could just make your jobs easier, I would have. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And again, thank you, everyone. And we'll move on to the Public Works Committee. Up and Bernie. You're up.
Good evening, everybody. Public Works Committee things that we did. Motion to approve the downtown Westchester and Westchester Borough Partnership for tree wells and planning proposal. This came up, it was a 3-0 because as we start to migrate down South High Street and a couple of the side streets, the bid wants to put in more street trees, and the bid's willing to pay for the street trees and the installation. And we thought it was good to keep adding, trees that wherever we can.
Yeah, I have one comment, and that's about the Verizon property. Because that is on the list for getting a tree well. I see Chips here. Could we add more to that particular strip? It's almost an entire block. There's only one tree there right now. Have you talked about it?
We're only doing 12 this year because that's all the bid was willing to fund. We'd like to do more, but that's just the most we can do for this year.
Thank you.
Okay, so Chip, yeah, I would have a similar question. We were in the planning commission and we were talking about, the commission was talking about the new area, down Market Street and the new bid area and things like that and how we can start to do beautification. So
Yeah.
keep that on your radar
Yeah.
as well.
I think this is sort of a trial. I mean, if this looks great, we'll just keep doing it. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities.
All right, so yes, connect with Jim back there as well, and I'm sure you guys do.
Madam President, that was a 3-0 from the committee to move forward with that.
And any other comments? Any other comments from those in attendance? All right, so I think we'll move that to consent.
Number 2, motion to direct the solicitor to prepare an amendment to Chapter 62, garbage, refuse, and rubbish, to talk about the tote quantities. What we did, we had 70 properties that the Public Works Department went out and cross-checked all 70 properties to see how many totes they actually had versus trash versus recycling. And through the mathematics of doing it, they came to a conclusion of for every 2 trash cans, totes, you can have 1 recycling can. So that was, we had a committee meeting, the solicitor attended, and we concurred with Mr. Anderson's position, 1 recycling can for every 2 trash totes. That was also a 3-0 recommendation.
Ernie, can I ask a question? If you are required to have a dumpster, which means you have more than 4 totes, you would be limited to recycling things.
That's correct, because
Two recycling.
that's correct. The reason why that is because there's 4 96-gallon totes to fit into the dumpster. So that's actually 2 recycling cans that would correspond directly to that. All right. Mr. Travis, do you have anything on that? You were at the meeting.
I don't think so. I think we pretty much figured it was a 2-to-1 ratio. So if we're talking about 2 96 gallons to 1 96 gallon recycling, I did want to just note that we actually had good language in the recycling section of Chapter 62. But when we went from a conversion to limit the number of totes to a dumpster, We did not add that piece in around the recycling container in terms of a ratio. So that's what we needed to address, and that's what we just did.
So Ms. Camp, at that point, if council approves, do we have to do a public hearing on it again?
Yeah, just on the one section, that would be a much shorter ordinance.
And Mr. Metric, if we do that, can we bundle that together so we don't have to spend extra money doing more public hearings?
Depends on if you have other ordinances ready to go. Yeah. Sure. We always do that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from those in attendance? All right, consent?
All right, number 3, motion to approve the Friends of Marshall Square Park request to install a lockable, frost-proof yard hydrant adjacent to Lafayette Street. And this is so that they can water the west side of the park. Right now, they don't have any water access. And the Friends of Marshall Square Park are going to pay for the installation and maintain the unit. That was the 3-0 as well.
Any questions? No? Any questions from those in attendance? Consent? All right, let's move on to public safety.
I'll take this since Mr. Travis was out. Motion to adopt an amendment to Chapter 80, peddling, soliciting handbills, and schedule a public hearing on April 15th, 2026. We recommended for further discussion because there were some questions regarding exemptions, and a couple of those exemptions are about food exemptions that are in the ordinance. Bill, if you want to scroll down.
Mr. McGinnis, if I can interrupt real quick, just so to set the stage of why there were several sections. You already have a very robust peddling and soliciting chapter 80. Dana and Ramsey had some minor changes that need to be made, mainly going from a background check to an FBI clearance check, the application process in terms of the photographs that the applicants were required to give photographs, and then the way it was written, the photographs, the borough had to put it on their license. Some of the information in terms of protecting people's identity, we were pulling out. So when we were meeting on this, it seemed like one of these ordinances that different things kept getting piled on. The other one was that Dana had mentioned that she gets a lot of calls from people that have movable carts that want to sell products within the borough, mainly in the town center. And this ordinance doesn't really address. There is currently a section in your chapter 80 now that talks about selling goods from a fixed location in the borough, and that is permitted with a peddling license. But she didn't know how to respond to somebody who was saying, well, I'm not going to have a fixed location. I'm not going to put up a table somewhere on Gay Street or in one of your parks. I'm going to literally move around the town center at the nighttime. So she didn't know how to address that. I said, well, that's an issue we need to bring to council. We need to understand what council wants to allow or not allow. So as we were working on this, I looked at other ordinances, as I always do, to see if there was a tried and true one that seems to make more sense. So what I did was look at East Bradford's. I thought East Bradford's was one of the best. And I took your provisions to the extent that, they were things that I know that you had worked on. For example, a couple of years ago, we worked on the time frame for when somebody being able to go door to door. So I carried that over. But the exemptions, Mr. McGinnis, I carried from the East Bradford, which have more. So I'm happy to go back to your section, which has less exemptions. So right now you have 80-7, which only lists 4 types of exemptions, and then 80-8 exempts children 16 and below. So I'm happy to just use those rather than use the more broad exemptions for East Bradford, if that's the consensus.
5, in particular, G and H regarding food, and J. Go ahead.
I'm guessing the G to the J are ones that you added. My guess.
No, I didn't use the same section numbers from yours. Like I said, I used East Bradford's. So their section 80-5 comes from example of East Bradford. What I'm saying is, if you look at your current ordinance, your current section 80-7 is where you list your exemptions. And your exemptions are farmers engaged in selling only the produce on their farms, persons engaged in the sale of goods, wares, and merchandise donated by the owner, the proceeds which are applied to a charitable or philanthropic purpose. And then the third is persons licensed in the Commonwealth engaging in real estate brokers, insurance brokers, and securities brokers. And the last one is political campaign workers. So those are your exemptions today. And then the next section specifically is persons under 16 are exempt.
I have something different. 80-5 exemptions.
That's what I'm saying. The ordinance that you have is a whole new rewrite of Chapter 80. And that was based on East Bradford's model where their exemptions were broader. What I'm saying is I can amend 80-5 to go back to your current section, which I just read, which has less exemptions.
I agree with that. Let everyone else say, but I agree with that.
Just back to committee. All right.
I think
Kick this
that
back
we
to
should-
committee. I'm actually the chair of this committee, so I need to see this with fresh eyes and understand what the concerns are. I did try to follow along with the recording. It was a little bit confusing to try to follow, so I think I'm pretty up to
I am
speed.
happy to prepare something to explain why this came to be. I don't want you to think that we were trying to reinvent the wheel. There were like 4 or 5 concrete things that we were asked to try to change. And in doing so, again, this is an area that's highly regulated under the First Amendment. There are millions of cases on it, so we're very careful about what we're doing with this topic. I'm happy to prepare a memo and come to your committee meeting if that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve special event applications 1 through 6. These were all self-explanatory. Easter egg hunt, Empower You, Uprising 5K, Helping Hands Amazing Race, Citizens March for Life, World Music Day, and the Turkey Trot. Yes, any comments, public comments? We could put that on consent.
Thank you. Yep, Parking Committee.
I can discuss generally the next 3 motions under the same discussion. Is that the related question is about allowing free parking at all. The idea is that we allow free parking for some events and then special parking charges for other events. So some events are free and some have a special charge. The position that we'd like to make is that there's no exemption to parking fees, that the parking will remain as it is, that we don't change anything. We just allow the event to carry forward to attract people to come to the borough for activities, but we're still going to charge parking. And they're only requesting an hour difference. It's a minor difference. And I just like to get a little handle and control over parking generally, that it's a consistent price and there's no variation. Thank you.
So just to confirm, so for these 3 events in particular, gallery walks, small business weekend, and the August 2nd special event, free parking.
Exactly. The idea is that it's a minimal effort.
I don't have any issue.
Yeah. And I should carry each motions individually?
Yes, since they're each, but we can ask for public comment on
Yes.
these as well.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
I think there was also a question about, are we going to have free parking for all of these kind of events? Or what criteria are we using for these 3?
Yeah. Can I just jump in? I'm sorry. So I think the special event question died at committee, so I don't want to revisit, but.
Yeah.
So the first one, John O'Brien is asking to extend the free parking on First Friday for 2 gallery walks. So there's one in May and one in October. Sean did ask me, and I forgot at parking committee, but I did tally up the total cost. It would be $574 per hour. So the total for both gallery walks would be around $1,200. So that would be the cost for the first request. Do you want to talk about that one first, and then we can go to the next one?
Yeah, I think that, yes, Sean, so
That was it. That was it. I made such a stink about the price
I think you should know, if you're giving out free parking, what potential revenue are you foregoing? Yeah.
All right, I have no concerns with
That was the first
the
one.
free parking for the gallery walks. Does anyone have any comment or concern on that? No. And anyone from the, those in attendance? It sounds like, so,
So the motion would not to approve
So-
free parking.
so this one would be to go to consent for yes, for free parking. For number one. For number one.
Or number one, no free parking.
You know, we're,
It's an hour more free parking.
so last year, there are specific events that last year we had free parking for. And that's what John's asking about. The gallery walks were events that we allowed people to come in and park for free in our garages and for on street and for the different places. And so John's just asking that we do that again for the gallery walks because they draw so many people to the borough that it's good for the borough's business. And so I think I think most of us are thinking that, yes, we're okay for free parking. Are you not okay to extend that? Free
Not okay. I'd like to put my foot down and say parking is parking and there's a fee for parking. The event brings people here and it doesn't detract that the fact that they have to pay a small amount to park their car and encourage use of the garages. But I'd like to move that we consider the garages and parking spaces as a borough function and that they pay for that function.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. So for all of these matters, it sounds like we need to have discussion and it might be good to ask John O'Brien to attend tomorrow night as well.
I know that he had to go to the funeral and I'm not
I
sure.
thought that was
I
tonight.
couldn't remember. So I just
Yeah.
want to preface
Yeah.
that, but I do have enough information because this is something that has been done annually for at least since I've been here since 2022. So I can help explain that.
All right, well, let him know in case he does want to show up, but yeah, let's put all these three on discussion. Okay.
So motion 1, 2, and 3 is moved for further discussion, as I understand.
Discussion tomorrow, yes.
And number 3 did not have John O'Brien. That was just our recommendation that because it's the America 250 COG special event and that we would not charge special event parking because it is the 250th United States anniversary. So that, I don't know if that's a separate discussion or not. Just wanted
What
to
day
point
is
that out.
August 2nd, Ramsey?
Sunday.
So it's kind of free already. So Stephen, are you okay with giving free parking on Sunday when it's already free?
Owing to that it's an exceptional event, it is a very rare period of time that we ever have this event to happen, I would agree.
So
Everybody-
number three, we might be okay to put on consent. But for number 3, might we be able to put on consent for tomorrow?
First, let's ask.
All right, yeah,
the-
we
the
got it.
amount.
That I don't know because that is, I mean, it's a Sunday, so I don't have good information.
Any questions from those in attendance? Okay, so that one will go on consent. Thanks, Ramsey, for clarifying that one. All right, so 1 and 2 on discussion, number 3, okay to consent.
Fourth motion is to approve changes to Chapter 104 parking meter zones established to 104-47. There are limits established already, but the borough would like to review some of the parking areas that need to be updated.
So this will come back before everyone again, hopefully next month. And I did edit the ordinance, but if you look at this map, and it's not the best map, but I'm getting much better because I've had to do this many times now. These are all of the different timed areas and time limits on each block. So you can see that some areas in town might have more than one time restriction. Some have a 1 hour, a 2 hour, and 3 hour time restriction. So I believe committee agreed, and my recommendation is that we make the town center area a 3 hour maximum parking area And that is the highest maximum that is on the books right now. And for the Westchester University area, change that from a 3-hour to a 4-hour maximum parking area, just because I know night classes are typically around 3 hours. That would give students time to get to and from. But this would also encourage, one of Stephen's goals and our goals is to encourage the use of lots and garages. So by encouraging more transient use on the on-street parking, this will push people into garages and lots for when you're having you're doing a pub crawl and you're the designated driver and you have to be in town for 6 hours. Then you go park in a garage or a lot.
Well, let me ask you this. 2 hours in town center. What's your thought on that?
I'm open to it. I had said 3 hours and some people were upset about that and said, well, what if I want to go to dinner for a long time? And I said, well, you could park in a lot in a garage. But that's ultimately up to council. I'm open to anything, but I would say I would not go more than 3 in town.
And the apps do allow you to add money to your parking.
So no, so that's the thing. Because I'm also in tandem doing the Park Mobile rollout. This means that you cannot park in a zone for longer than 3 hours. You can move block to block because we will be changing the zones to block, but no, you won't be able to pay more because you pay by license plates. Your license plate will be maxed out at 3 hours on that block.
And I think an important thing to also know is we're not enforcing any maximum right now. Even though we have a 1 hour and a 2 hour and a 3 hour, we're not doing any of it. So, but this would, when she sets up the new app, it would enforce it. They couldn't go beyond the 3 hours. But is it
Baby
different than
steps
2?
too.
Yeah. I don't know that there was a compelling reason between the 3 and the 2.
Just to add that we are moving from Flowbird to Park Mobile before the end of June, I believe. This will be in.
Yes, we're gonna, as soon as we get a determination on this, I can get Park Mobile activated and signed, but Flowbird will be sunsetting sometime in June.
Okay, cool. So sounds like.
Can I just ask a quick question to Ramsey? Do we have good data on how long, like what the normal, like the average visit is in these areas where we're trying to push people into the garages?
I mean, I don't have it handy. I can get that.
2 hours, so we're not, you know what I mean?
I think that there are a lot of, just from our knowledge of whose cars are whose and who yells at us the most often, there are a lot of business owners that actually park right in front of their businesses and then stay there all day. So there's a lot of people that we would like to really help move to other areas. But I can do my best to give you average time park. It's not foolproof though, because a lot of people try to get away with not parking.
Our sessions call this time, so we know how much time somebody paid.
But if you remove the outliers that are there all day long, then like what would the average stay look like? I think I would try to solve to something like that. If there's people that are parked in front of their business all day, I can understand why you would want them to get a garage permit or something along those lines and move them into the garage. I get the goal. I just wonder if we have the right benchmarks.
I don't know I guess my question would be like, what would help you? What would that information help you decide?
I think determining whether it's 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to get rid of a
No,
limit altogether.
No, not at all. I understand
Okay.
the goal. Yeah.
Okay.
So is that something that you could get by tomorrow night if we put this on discussion and you can come to us with that information tomorrow?
I think I can do that. Yes.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Well, any comment any more comment?
Yeah, just one quick question. I think you may have indicated the answer, but so you can't split a time? You have to go by hours? You can't go by half an hours?
No, so you can go by half an hour. I actually asked that we make the lowest increment 15 minutes just so that people can pop in and pop out. It's our hourly rate is $1.50 an hour, but the only issue is that with service fees, I don't think a lot of people will pay 15 minutes, but the next portion of this will be to create more loading zones on each block so that people can just pop in, pop out, and there won't be any charge. So that'll be then phase 2.
I mean, because I think realistically that, if you're going to fine dining, 2.5 hours is usually sufficient. 2 hours is sufficient in some places, but you might be a tad rushed, say, if you're going to Ondario's or Jolene's or something, you might want, or even some of the others, you might want a little more time. But 3 hours, I think that's a nice long wine fused dinner. I mean, I'm not objecting to that, but I'm just saying, it just seems like more than we need. Maybe if we could split that difference and do 2.5.
I'll get the information. I'm more like I said, it's up to general consensus. My goal is to figure it out so that we can enhance the signage in town also and let people know, what the maximum is so that they're not shocked, and roll it out really nicely. So I'll get that for you.
All right. Any questions from those in attendance? Come on down, Ann.
Ann Carroll, individual, 506 South Franklin Street. I just want you to, would this apply to the handicap parking spaces as well?
Yes.
Okay. I just want you to consider a group of 4 of me who are going to go uptown to a restaurant. We have to wait to get in because Westchester's so hopping that, you have to wait. So you have a half an hour to 45 minutes at the Old Iron Hill. That could happen easily. That's wait time before you get in. Then you're going to have 4 little elderly people talking and having a good meal. And I'll tell you what, we're at DK every Saturday morning for 2 hours. Now, you're going to have a nice time. And now you're going to walk back to your vehicle, not at a fast rate of speed. And I'm just not sure. 2 hours certainly is, I don't think, right.
Let me clarify. I'm sorry, because you said that and I was thinking yes, but actually we're going to keep meters at all of the handicap spaces. So we do have the ability to allow for that. And then handicap parking also gets an hour to return to your vehicle once your meter has concluded. So there is that. So it does not necessarily have to be the same. We are
Okay.
trying to accommodate that.
But I still want you to think about the non-handicapped little people who want to go to Andario's and pay a huge amount of money for a dinner that you're not going to rush through. And if that's what and we have an opening for a restaurant, I'm not sure now is the time to tell them that their patrons aren't going to, I hope it's going to be a restaurant where the Old Iron Hill was, but I think you need to consider that. And exactly back in the 90s and 2000s, when I was doing all of this, we did put in limits and chalking and all of that because the business people were parking to their own detriment in all the spaces on the street. So I understand your problem, but keep in mind that if people are really going to enjoy themselves in the borough, they have to have time to do that. You don't want to shoot yourselves in the foot.
If you look at that map right now, by the way, so that's Gay Street with the 3 lines. So right now Gay Street is 1, 2, and 3 hour time limits on the same street, which I think I think it's kind of funny actually, but I think at every point, every iteration of council, somebody has said there is an issue with people staying too long. So I hear Ann's point. I think we can accommodate the ADA portion of it, but I do think there are, especially all the restaurants mentioned, they're all really close to Lot 10 and the Chestnut Street Garage, so.
May I ask a question? Why aren't the owners getting ticketed for parking in front of their place all day now?
We haven't, because right now you can pay by app and then you can keep extending it. So it's not easy for us to see how long. And because it's not properly signed and because there's 3 ordinances on one street, it's not really appropriate to say, hey, you've been here more than an hour, or you've been here more than 2, or you've been here more than 3, because our ordinances kind of contradict each other at this point.
All right, we're still moving to discussion for tomorrow night with the additional information. Okay. All right, cool. All right, moving on to smart growth.
Okay, the first motion is to approve the HARB application. This is for 6 West Market Street. Initial request was to put in a shingle roof, and the HARB came back and recommended, because it is a metal roof, to stick with the metal roof for the front, but they could approve and they could accept a shingle roof on the back of the building. So they want the front to be metal roof, matching the neighbors as well. So motion. Any public comment on this?
Consent?
Okay. All right. And the next one is data centers have been in the news an awful lot lately. As of today in the borough, we have no ordinances or no zoning recommendations or limitations or restrictions on those. So the recommendation is to consider directing the solicitor to prepare an ordinance. And there have been some samples submitted as examples for us to consider. And so we would recommend that the solicitor does start to consider this and create some guidelines for zoning.
Please, very fast.
Yes.
Been working on it for the past 5 months for many municipalities. Went to a Cato conference last week. It was one of the best conferences I've been to. Lots of great experts. So very collaborative effort among municipal solicitors in the area. Have just going through a lot of the models that were provided. Penn Future has a great one. So we actually have a call scheduled tomorrow with your staff and Nate at Pannoni to go over and get something to the smart growth, hopefully for the next meeting.
Public comment?
Real quick on the data centers, if there's any help, if there's generators that'll be involved in.
I know you were already here, but you gotta say your name again. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Fran.
Yeah.
And your address.
Fran Arbono, 1415 Allen Lane, Westchester, PA.
Sorry about that.
In the event with the data center planning and research, whether it's new or existing, and there's anything related to generators and decibels with sound, part of what the business I'm involved in is commercial and industrial generators. We do a lot of work in data centers and a lot of other types of industrial applications. Be happy to help, just if I could be of any assistance or, ask an engineer, to kind of help us just understand requirements and things like that. So remote monitoring and, anything at all like that. So that's all.
Thank you for that offer. So we recommended this 2-0.
Good. Moving on to finance. Brian.
Looking at, I apologize, I was looking at PA House Bill 2151, and that is actually regarding data centers. Could you speak to that real quick?
I can't speak to that exact legislation, but the first speaker at the Cato conference was somebody from one of the House committees, and he went over all the proposed legislation as well as ones that have received support from, I can't remember what he called it, but when a representative or a senator puts a bill together and then gets people to sign on to it in what did he call it? A memo form of some sort. Anyway, he went through it all. And at the end of it, he basically said, looking at the composition of the House and the Senate, probably none of these will get passed. So don't rely upon the state to do anything anytime soon. Take action as quickly as you can to make sure you're regulating it within your own municipality.
Thank you. All right, Finance Committee motion to approve budget modification 2026-2. That's a salt purchase. Roughly that was for $51,077.10 from the most recent storm that we had. That was a 3-0 decision. Any comment? Public comment? All right, we could put that on consent. Motion to approve the following purchase requests. All season landscaping, $54,600. That's for tree planting. Brandywine Valley SPCA, $15,000. That's the agreement in the police department. And the SPCA butts tickets, $36,180. That's for parking. USALCO, that's Taylor Run for $15,280. Usalco Goose Creek for $10,230. That's for phosphorus removal for each of them. Chemical equipment, $33,677.10. That is a purchase of another salt purchase. Colonial Parking, $48,475. That's garage management. And Maori, $17,400 for landscaping. Any public or any questions? They're all 3-0.
I do have one question. It's the Maori services shows up on the budget modification and also on the approval. So I just want to make sure that those are not double count.
So first, I needed authority for the budget modification because it was not part of the 2026 budget. We have to pay this out of the general fund, and then we needed the approval to be able to pay the invoices. So it does seem that it's not double counted. That's what the budget modification was for Maori
So
and
it's
for
just-
chemical.
It's the budget. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's both for salt and for Maori
Yeah.
services, the budget modification.
Yes.
Okay, that was just a point of clarification. I just.
Yeah, are we on consent? I don't think we officially said consent. All right.
All right, administration, communication and technology. meeting.
Actually, sorry, Lisa.
Oh, sorry.
Did we ask for any public comment on this one?
We did.
Yeah, okay. So now back to consent. Okay, Lisa.
All right, now back to where we were. 3 things to talk about. First one being formalizing the process and procedures for remote attendance by borough council members for council meetings under certain conditions. This discussion actually started before Jerry, Stephen, and I even showed up on council. So we're just bringing this to conclusion. In developing the policy, we had to keep in mind the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, the borough's home rule charter, et cetera. And it's been reviewed by our borough solicitor to make sure it was legally sound as drafted. I hope have you had the opportunity to read it? I mean, I don't necessarily want to go through it line by line, but we'll take a couple of highlights. If you go down to roles and responsibilities, right off the bat, we do make sure that it says that the council members are expected to be physically present for all public meetings, except when being physically present, isn't practicable. And then it gets to some of the reasons why that might be. Then it goes into kind of what are the things that this person attending remotely can and cannot do. We say they can make a motion, they can vote. The one area we had some discussion about more than the others was whether they can chair a meeting. I think the discussion I heard you all have before we joined council was probably not chair because you couldn't really see or hear what was going on out there in order to control the room. But both Jerry and I have, led virtual teams, so we know you can chair a meeting. I still think it's best to delegate that, but that's an area we still might want to discuss. And then whether the person had to be on camera or not under the Sunshine Law, et cetera. You don't have to be on camera, and we continued that. You just have to be able to see and you have to be able to hear and be heard everything that's going on. So those are kind of the highlights. Any questions and then there's the one amendment that I proposed that somehow I dropped it. And that was the council members participating in the remote manner do count for purposes of determining whether a quorum is present. So I think we addressed the questions you all had before. So I'm proposing that we move this to the consent agenda tomorrow with that one additional sentence made. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Kearns?
Yes, sir.
The main criteria for being able to hold a meeting and have people report in remotely, the first important thing is we need to have a quorum in the room.
In the room, not that's.
We were told you have to have a quorum in the room.
Do not need a quorum in the room. That only applies to a borough that's not a home rule borough.
All right, so that was,
Check that.
yeah, that was the confusing
Yep.
part that I had.
We did make it, you do apparently, and this was a recommendation by Sean, and it's a good one. We need at least one person in the room because this is advertised as being the place where the meeting is taking place. But this person can count as part of the.
Thank you.
I think the only thing that I have maybe a disagreement with, or however it's stated and whatever you all talked about, because we talked about this before, is sharing the meeting. I believe that should be someone physically present to know the audience, to see what's going on. I have no other issues with quorum or voting or having a say. I think chairing a meeting, that's something should be done in the present.
And that is how this ordinance is written currently, or this policy is written.
Kearns, the remote people, we've all been away, and we didn't hear very well some of the times. Does it say a member says you have to be heard, correct? It doesn't say you have to be seen?
It's correct. You have to be able to hear and they have to hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Question, do you want this to apply to council committees as well?
I know you had a question about that, and we do say public meetings. We don't ever say specifically a council meeting or a committee meeting.
I just think to make sure everybody's crystal clear whether it applies to that, you should just make it clear. So if you wanted to apply to committees in the introduction, I think it should read for the remote attendance by borough council members at borough council and council committee public meetings.
I'm fine with that. Questions out here before anyone in attendance? Anne?
Ann Carroll, 506 South Franklin Street. I'm very, very uncomfortable with the idea of only one person in a room for a public meeting, particularly a borough council meeting. I had read up on other areas, and I understand what you've said, that we are not required to do it because we're home rule. But it seems to me that a quorum should be required present in the room, which is 4 of you. I mean, I can't think of any circumstance that 6 of you would be missing and the one who's left is chairing the meeting. I don't think that does service to the public. If there's a situation like the snow event, et cetera, then you cancel the meeting. Because if 50 of us show up and there's one of you who may or may not be the president of council who's chairing the meeting, and we're talking to someone we can't even see because there's no requirement to be seen, which is reasonable if you're in a hospital bed. But I don't think this benefits us. And in fact, as a citizen, I would ask, if you don't have to be present to be heard, why do I have to be present to be heard? I think this is, I understand for a one person or, 2 people in the event of a flu disaster, whatever. But that, when I saw that one, I'm like, are you kidding me? If 50 of us showed up and there was one of you, there'd be a revolt, an absolute revolt. I understand that there are emergencies, illness. I don't consider vacation an emergency. You schedule your vacations around it. Business, you can't tell your boss you're not going to go somewhere. I get that. But then you have to be in your hotel room at time. What guarantee do we as residents have that you're even listening to us? That somebody's not, no offense to your integrity, but somebody's not texting you and saying, get ready because the vote's coming up in 30 seconds. How do we know you even listen to what we said? I think this is way too far for me as a citizen. And I talked to at least one other person today who's concerned about it as well. And I don't think they saw the one person part. So that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
I got a comment. I tend to agree with what Anne's saying. I think a quorum is in the room. And I think we just need to come around on this one. I was not at my committee meetings last week. I was absent, but I actually got an alternate to chair the meeting for me. And I think that should be part of this policy too. Because if you're not going to be present or you can't be present, you have to have somebody that can proxy for you. Less of course, it's a vote. But I think we should do our best to try to show up for the public. It is a public meeting. It's for them, not really for us. So we have to kind of think about putting ourselves in the public shoes and what they would expect from us.
But what's the likelihood of just one person being here?
Very unlikely, but I think it needs to be written.
That's what I think. I think when we put it down on paper, it's like, it's never going to happen. Like maybe in a committee, but
yeah.
when you say it and you're like, yeah.
I mean, I hear you, but if
that
we're
could
going
happen.
by
COVID?
also with, right, COVID, right, who knows if that happens again, but the Pennsylvania State Legislature, I mean, it's the same thing for attendance as well.
Same.
I mean, and so unless they're going to update the sunshine law, then we're just going to do our own interpretation.
That's what home rule charter is. We do our own interpretation.
Right.
of
But the
everything.
thing is, so
Larger governing body than committee of 3 people. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. It's a number of voices in the room.
On top of that, I mean, we all know pretty much what we all sound like. Somebody in the audience has no idea what we sound like. So unless I tell you that I'm speaking on every topic and stopping, there's no way telling, who I am. Like, for example, yesterday, I get a phone call and I had to ask them if they were AI. And the machine said yes. And I went, thank you very much. And I don't think I just hung up. Like, it's getting a little scary, but.
So are you against remote attendance at all?
The what?
Are you against remote attendance at all?
No. I still think you should have a quorum in the room or you cancel the meeting.
Yeah, I kind of like the quorum, keeping the quorum in there. And so Bernie, also from what you're saying, it almost sounds like you think that you should be on, the remote attendee should be on camera as well.
During COVID, Bill Mann did a marvelous job. Is he here still?
Yeah, we keep them around.
I felt like I was on a TV show because we're all in boxes and our faces were in boxes. I believe if we're going to do remote, we should at least put our camera on. And,
that would have kept you out that one day you were in your car.
Yeah, I was in a poll. That day. I missed the current in San Diego.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And his attendance wasn't that good that day anyway. Like it was like
Yeah.
Never is.
I didn't have to
probably
call
would
in.
have been better. Than just
I'm a
not
chooch.
that you do.
I do
You were
what
trying.
I'm supposed to do. Yeah.
And I think Sheila, when she was talking about it, when she was still, you don't always, if you're sick, want to be on camera, but it's up to you. It's up to you.
You can be absent.
Can be absent.
Yeah.
I'd still object
Oh,
to the whole thing.
yeah,
All right,
just-
just so.
So
I doubt-
I'm guessing we take this back to committee or can we just, do we want to say they don't count as a quorum? So we won't add the amendment? Or we should probably put that they do not count as part of the quorum, the remote member.
I would recommend taking it back to committee
Yeah.
and then working it out.
Well, we did work it out to us, but we want to make sure we're incorporating all your ideas.
I think I agree. One more month going through this is not an urgent, this isn't a data center ordinance
No,
that
exactly.
we need to get moving.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so we'll
right.
take this back to committee then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other public comment behind it?
Other public comment? All right, hearing none. The next one is the Westchester Council Communication Agenda Management. Kind of a strange name for what we're talking about, but I think Sean and Nicole, you guys kind of worked on this, so maybe you can brief it better than I can.
Bucks an hour. Yeah, so Sean, I mean, do you want to talk about it that you presented to the committee and you're presenting to Borough Council communication guidelines?
Yeah, this is something council asked me to prepare.
And you're not glowing. And yes, what Sean said, we asked for this to be put together. We wanted to have a little more clarity on, rules of engagement with the team, especially with the new role that Ramsey's in as assistant borough manager. And so Ramsey and Sean worked on a proposal to us to kind of help work with guidelines for communication.
I do have a point of order. When you said we, who is we? Who is we?
A number of council members. I know some of the new council members, Lisa had asked for some clarity.
How you respond to group emails. Yeah.
Yeah, and things like that, different, and just a variety of council members, I can't remember exactly, but in different meetings, especially at the end of the year, there were questions asked about what does Ramsey manage versus what does Sean manage? How do we engage with them when we have an issue? Like, do we engage with both of them, some of them, things like that? Who do they oversee, all of the pieces, and how do we engage with those teams? So this is what they came back with regarding some of those questions that happened both at the end of the year and as the new team members came about.
I think it was particularly important to the three of us who are new. We don't have the experience you guys have working with all the staff and other council members as well. So we just wanted some clarification and some guidelines.
Being, where did this come from, more or less, Mr. McGinnis? I worked on it because you told me to. It's in my performance goals for the year. So I just want to say there's nothing in here that doesn't comport or comply with the Home Rule Charter and the admin code. There's nothing here that got invented. It is an attempt to try and bridge the gap, color in the painting, so to speak, between what the Home Rule Charter generically says about council manager relationships and agenda management and best practices. So it's really a conversation piece around how the borough council interacts with staff and the borough manager, how to handle constituent emails when they come your way, how to manage agendas. We didn't have to do too much work there because you already have a pretty robust rules and regs about how to manage agendas, and then a rehash of the Sunshine Act, which talks about, again, permitted communications, prohibited communications. We thought it was best to sort of talk this out with examples of things that are appropriate behaviors and things that probably are inappropriate behaviors, to give you a better idea of how you can comply with Sunshine, agenda management, Home Rule Charter, and admin code, and also interface with our team and our department heads and what their individual responsibilities are.
So I think one of the biggest questions that I heard from different council members along the way since this was first came about was they asked about the period of time for a response. I know I specifically asked Sean to kind of time box if we were to send him an email or something, like how long would it take at most to get back to us, to set some expectations so we're not waiting, for him to get back to us an hour and he's in meetings all day long. And so he had set the tone with up to 48 hours it could take. And I think there was some concerns that might be a little bit too long. And Sean, I think you called me today and said that you could time box that back to up just to 24 hours. That basically if you send him an email and you could expect up to 24 hours for a response. Not that all emails are going to take 24 hours to get a response, but that would be the response time pending, if he's got some other things going on. But if something's urgent, Sean had in his notes that, you could text him or call him and highlight that there's an urgent, something that's more urgent than 24-hour response time.
To that point, Madam President, in order for the borough manager, and you and I talked about this, in order for the borough manager to understand if something is important enough or urgent, the council members could use the red flag to let him know that, hey, and as soon as you look at an email and you see a red flag, oh, I got the other 30 don't matter, but that red flag does. And I should respond to the red flag within, earlier than 24 hours. But that's urgent.
Well, I would say also though, if there's, because what we don't want to do is mark everything urgent and then it doesn't change anything. So what I would say is, more importantly, if you've got an email, you use the email with the expectation that it could take up to 24 hours. But if you know that email's urgent or something, then text Sean, call Sean, make sure that he knows to look for that email as opposed to just flagging, because flags are easy. We could tell Sean that they're all urgent all day long. So this gives that little bit of, we want to make sure it's important. We want to explain to him why it's important too.
Email is an asynchronous form of communication. It's 1 in 1,000 where the person sitting on the other end of your email gets it the instant you send it to them and corresponds to you in real time. So if you need to get something communicated quickly, this came up last week with the Goose Creek issue as well. Pick up the phone, dial 911. I'm not 911, obviously, but pick up the phone, call me. I check it every day, even on weekends and holidays. The only time I'm not plugged in is when I'm taking paid time off on vacation. And then in those moments, I delegate those responsibilities to the assistant borough manager.
Just another thought, we all have Teams, so we all have the ability to do chat too. And I'm not sure, I think we're underutilizing it. It's something that we should at least bring into this conversation, because it is the preferred way for me to contact other people is through chat. And the easiest way to get a hold of me quickly is through chat, through Teams. I have the app on my phone. I have 3 computers that also have chat, that have Teams on it. We have used it in the past. It's just a thought, since we're talking about communicating with each other and the immediacy of it and the importance of it, depending on what the item is. I mean, I'm looking through my emails, Sean, and I probably send 1 email directly to you once a month. That's it. And there's 7 of us. So I don't know how you're probably communicating with Bernie and Nicole a lot more frequently, and the mayor, but I'm just saying, I don't really send that many emails. So for me, a 48-hour period of time seems like a long time.
So know that that's going to whittle down to 24. Sean.
Hear you. It just still feels like if I'm only sending 1 out a month and I have to wait a day for a response, it feels long to me.
Well, I would ask the question, is it urgent? Is what you're sending
that's what we're trying to establish right now, is what is the better method if it's urgent. So I think urgent and 24 hours still doesn't seem to fit. Doesn't foot for me.
24 hours would be not urgent. So to your point, though, if you want to add to Teams chat to the idea of, like, maybe you'll text Sean or call Sean to let him know that that 1 email is actually urgent this month, then, that could be
It just doesn't feel concrete yet to me. I think we still need to work through a couple things, we're getting there. You mean in terms of immediacy? Well, I mean, the most immediate thing that I think we'd all talked about was the Goose Creek thing and who found that first and what was going to happen after that. So you mentioned 911. That makes sense to me. I don't know, resident issues. I don't know. I mean, nothing's come. Yeah, I want to wait. I want to think about a list of these things and what the urgency could be. be a little bit more thoughtful about it, but mainly because we're talking about, we whittled it down from a 48 to 24-hour response time, and then some things may be more urgent. I just don't know what all those things are right now. I usually don't have anything that urgent, but I just expect a response earlier, I think.
So Brian, you are not on the ACT committee. So if we send this back to ACT, you won't, so do you want to talk about this tomorrow on discussion? Can you kind of formulate your?
No, I think we have enough for ACT to kick around a little bit, and then I'll also kick it around. It's not an urgent thing. Like we said, it's not a data center ordinance. So let's just send it back. ACT will make the fixes we talked about earlier. And, or is it just this one piece?
But
Okay.
Like to your point, Sean, and I brought it to the mayor, to Nicole's attention, I believe. I brought this up, and Ramsey's attention. Probably was Ramsey. Dial 911 a lot. That's our fallback, or that's our emergency hit. Mount Pocono Police Department just had their council people and their borough manager said, if you have a problem, dial 911. One business called 911 70 times because that was their way of getting something done immediately. So, you know, dialing 911, telling people to dial 911, they're actually going to start fining people. One resident called because of trash cans. She called 20 times 911. I'm not in the Poconos. I was watching the news and I said, Sean just said dial 911, and the police department says, unless it's urgent, like really urgent, don't dial 911. And we're using it as a fallback, as a answering service. I don't think we should be using 911 as an answering service. Just my feeling. Yeah, yeah. No. Yeah, but they were using it, basically for an answer, up at Pocono Mountain Police Department, you know, it was on the news, and they were really forcing people to stop calling 911 unless it's urgent, life-threatening.
I think that's what we said, though, is for an urgent issue, dial 911. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
And then also, prior to Mr. Metry taking over, we always had an emergency management person that was not the county, the borough. And that person was the go-to person all the time in case there was an emergency. Like, for example, you know, we played Whisper Down the Lane for Goose Creek and it got done. But in the past, we always had an emergency management person was appointed every January, and that person was the person for the year. Am I correct, Miss Carol, on that?
On Borough.
Yeah, no, that's the county. But we had the borough, we had our own borough.
Borough's the local emergency
Yeah.
management.
Well, no one knows who he is. Nobody knows his address. Nobody knows his phone number.
Ann Carroll, former president of Borough Council. That's how I'm answering this. There usually in the past, for the 30 years that Ernie McNeely was here, he was the emergency manager. He had the ability to say, we need to send something to Ready Chesco. He had the ability to say, you know, we're going to close down these streets immediately because there was a huge fire. And the fire department said, we need more help or whatever. If there was overcrowding in a restaurant and it became an emergency situation, he had the ability to pull in the various departments that were needed. And that's why it was someone at the borough. To my knowledge, I signed, and council, as president of council, I signed off on that every year. And whoever that was the point man. I don't know what happened after 2001, because I wasn't, but as I recall, it still was in place. But that's what it was. And when Ernie went on vacation or whatever to a conference, he would appoint another individual in the borough. It was usually Doug Cap, the finance director, for those of you who are old, or it was Mike Perrone, the building and housing director, because they had immediate access to all the people they had to call, all the departments that had to be brought in, and they had the authority to do it in conjunction. Usually they called the president of Borough Council if it was a big deal. So that's the way it used to happen. Kristen may or may not remember that. I don't know whether she was ever involved. So that's what I remember.
Was that when he was a borough manager and the emergency contact? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it had to be somebody in the borough who had the ability to contact every department member who needed to be involved, whether it was the building and housing department, because there was a fire and they had to clear homes and they had to condemn stuff, whether it was the Public Works Department because they had to do something to immediately remedy a situation. You know, if there's a fire, you got trash, and that they have to be able to call in the department. So it can't be the county director. It has to be somebody who is always available at the borough level, or can, and the way it was written was, or their designee. So that's the way it worked.
Carol, I do remember that. It's why, it came, I had a flashback on that. And dialing 911 as their answering service doesn't seem to be the right way to go.
So let me try to recap so far what I've heard from the feedback, just to make sure that with the idea of sending back to committee. The one thing would be, the first piece was reduce non-urgent email response or email response to less than 24 hours, or to within 24 hours. Flesh out the section for urgent communications, whether it's adding a Teams chat component or something else. Brian, you'll bring some additional feedback as you kind of think about that. Everybody, can think about that. And then add a section for emergency management and kind of flesh out something about how we deal with emergencies. That's what I've heard so far. Is that accurate? And is there any more?
I think emergencies should have a time component, like they need to be answered for a specific reason within a specific time frame. I don't think just because it's urgent to you, because someone's constituent got your goat on it, makes it a urgent issue. It just may be a important issue, which isn't necessarily an urgent issue that has time consequences. So I think whatever the urgent issue ought to have a time frame and a consequence to it if action isn't taken.
That's fair, and that can be fleshed out in the yeah. And you heard that, Annick. Not always your emails are urgent. They're important, always important, not always urgent. But any other feedback or?
The screen went away.
Yeah.
Put the screen to bed.
It was tired of communicating. All right. Any other council mayor comment on this one? Any other attendee comment on this one? Daryl, do you have any comment? You're good? You're good. Okay. So I think you guys have your updates and your requests. Take it back to ACT. Okay.
I don't know who would do it, Mr. Metric, but we do have legacy history in the borough. Maybe we can go backwards and see the last time we had emergency person and who it was. And
Brill and Dave March. John Brill is emergency management coordinator. Dave March is the deputy.
that's not sufficient for the borough. We're not happy with that. We want somebody on staff, I believe, that no one knows John Brill.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Training
but-
sessions with John.
Yeah, they know the name. How are you getting hold of them?
He's a part of every snow emergency.
Yeah,
John Brill and.
I know
Mark.
I think if
In every emergency. So there's usually a consortium when there's an emergency needed to be made that meet.
The emergency management coordinator is driven by statute. It's a state statute. So I think it would be helpful if you understand what that person's defined roles and duties are under the state statutes and understand that it's a little different than what you're talking about as far, I think, as emergency communication to Sean as your staff liaison for something that he needs to respond to immediately. They might not be the exact same thing. So I think it's helpful if you understand what the state law requires in terms of training and duties, because it's spelled out in code. So let us provide that to you on that part of it, and then see if that has if there's something else that you're looking for as far as what I'm hearing you say is among yourself, if you feel there's something that it's not an email that you're going to send that you want him to respond to in 24 hours or somebody else on one of the department heads, it's something that is a critical thing that needs immediate response. Who is it that you're communicating with? It sounds like Sean's saying, pick up the phone and call me, text me, or Teams. It seems like that's the way he's saying. So if you want something more than that, I think we need to understand what scenarios you're talking about to try to have that communication.
I'm just gonna recap some of the stuff. I think we are all reacting to the 24-hour email that felt long to us. And then somehow we got to emergency response, which I wasn't really thinking emergency response, but I was the first one to mention Goose Creek. So I probably did take us in that direction. I was just thinking that for communication to feel like it's flowing, 48 hours felt like a long time. That's all. That's the only point that I was trying to make, and that there are other ways of reaching people and communicating more quickly with a more timely response. You know, I'm expected to answer, you know, to my students at Westchester, you know, within the day or within a couple hours of a question, because typically, you know, there's something due, or there's something next, or there's something this, you know, there's always something. If I'm waiting 48 hours, it's just not fair to anybody. So I think that's what we're mostly reacting to, is that 48-hour period. I'm glad we addressed it, but I do think that if there's something that is important, not just a question, but something that's important, we could mark it important, like you mentioned, Bernie, or we could use a specific method of contact that would be used for a quicker response, like text or chat. That's it. That's all I'm going to say on this.
Yes, and I think that's the way it's written, or should, like, that I don't think Teams chat was part of and if you want to add Teams chat, I don't think there's any issue with it. I probably personally, because my phone is all combined with my work stuff and going back and forth in Teams, it's a little.
Mine isn't combined. I don't
Yeah,
combine
so my point being, though, if that's something that somebody wants to be able to use, I don't see why not adding it. That was where I was headed.
But
with
are we
that.
limiting it to just chat through that?
Well, I wouldn't limit it to just chat because I won't use it. I would pick up the phone or text Sean. So I don't think we should limit. I think we can expand. So if we want to get to Sean and there's a couple of quick ways to do it and Sean's amenable to it, and he also uses the quick ways, then we can do that. But I just as I wouldn't say, you can't use the phone or a quick text message.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying to reach him through chat, you had to use Teams. You're not saying that.
No, I'm saying, no, just what Brian brought up was using Teams chat. That's all. Where have we landed here?
The other question I had, and I heard asked, was the part of it where it talks to the borough, you know, we have engineers and audit and planning and other professionals, and those have to be approved by you within 2 days. Do we want to change that to
24 hours?
That's the question.
I feel like I get back to most people in 24 hours. I don't think that's an issue. I mean, it's the same thing. Sometimes I have a busy work day, but I usually, though, when I get on the train, I tend to look at everything.
A quick question. If I send a message or an email to Kristen, I have to send it through you? Or if I have to, I mean, that's a little ridiculous. And if I have to send a message to one of, like, say Kelly Goff, I had to work with her to get funding for a crosswalk on Darlington and Price. I'm not going to you, no offense. I mean, I'm going to her to deal with her. And I dealt with Sean and I dealt with Don on that. I mean, this is just an extra added layer of bureaucracy.
So I guess the question is, I mean, this was added in, and I think the thought was to manage cost.
Sometimes more than one person's contacting the engineer and asking the same question. That's really the only reason for it, or the solicitor.
I don't want to be your gatekeeper either, right? Like,
That's what I mean. Like, you're going to have to go through 40 like emails and be like, hey, this is the issue. You know?
is it that it goes through you, Sean? That, like, I don't know. Or at least
however you want to do it.
I mean, if you do it, do you copy me on it? And that way I can at least see if there's duplication and I can let you guys know. I agree. I don't want to be the.
It's more work for you too, and you're going to be looking at emails all day.
Need this. It feels like we're creating bottlenecks everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, back to the communication flow. We got jobs to do, right, as elected officials. So let's kick this around some more.
Bernie, come. Do we need to take
He's communicating with us.
I have a question. So in reference to all of this, Sean, I guess my question is for you. I'm not sure who it's for, or maybe it's for you, Kristen. So when all these different issues come up, is it permissible for anyone and everyone to contact Kristen?
That's policy for council. Yeah. Absolutely your policy, whatever you want to decide.
Oh, it's what?
It's what council wants to decide. That's what this is
okay.
to do, is establish policy.
Okay.
And you respond when I know what policy is, I'll do. I work for you.
Okay, only because I didn't know if they had to go through Sean to talk to you, because that seems to me that could be unexpected expense at the end of the year. If duplicate people are having duplicate conversations over the same issues, over duplicate issues. But that was a question I had. I didn't know if they had to go through Sean to call you or call you directly.
No, in the past, it's been that they've been, if there's questions, typically they're asking the president and council to make sure they can seek that advice. Or a lot of times it happens through committees. The committees have specific questions, and then the committee, usually Sean report.
We just did this with Chapter 62.
And then what?
It's how you want to speak. If you want to authorize every member of council to reach out to myself or to Kelly or whoever, that's your policy, and that's what I think part of the independence is.
And then what happens when you get over your minimum billable hours for the month? Because
have that. I'm not under a retainer. I just, whatever time I spend, I charge them
every time.
every month.
Well, damn.
this meeting that's going till 9 o'clock. Cha-ching for Kristen. All right. So, okay. So, I'm amenable. I mean, I guess the question is, how much extra money do you guys think we're spending by duplicate efforts to Kristen? Because I don't, I'm sorry. I mean, I get that. I get the idea of the control of making sure that we are not bombarding the team. And that's where the idea comes, to make sure we go through you, Sean, or we go through you, Ramsey, with trying to go direct to because there's so much going on. But there are issues and things that maybe I don't know about, that like the Kelly Goff thing, I wouldn't, Kristen, I don't know. I don't know if it has to, whether it's just a copy me on it in case I need to flag it that there's duplication, or do we have an idea of how much duplication there is when it comes to our consultants and those third parties?
There's a decent amount. I also think, you know, for the capital projects and things like that, there's an employee assigned, there's a staff member assigned to each one of those projects. So, and we all meet monthly with the engineers. So it would help facilitate conversation. If you guys have a question, you know, we all hear from you also, and you could email if you have a question about the Gay Street closure, you could email Don. Don could mention that to Kelly in the meeting, and then we should be giving all of that information to council anyway, because you all ultimately are making decisions on these projects. So we will firm up our communication back to you as well. But I think there is a decent amount of redundancy, and that's just my 2 cents on that.
Can you give us an example? Might make it better.
I just know that there are conversations that I've had with Kristen about clarification of an ordinance, or, you know, I can't be specific right now, but I know that there are conversations that I've had, and I know that other council has reached out to her to get that information. But ultimately, whatever that ordinance was going to go back to committee anyway, and I would have brought that information to committee and full council as a whole ultimately. So I think sometimes you know, you guys want to get a lot of stuff done and you're trying to get clarification quickly, but we are also working on that and we'll bring you that information. So I just think that, I don't know, I'm cheap, so I'm trying not to spend a lot of extra money on third-party consultants.
But I also do think there's going to be impromptu issues that we're going to need answers for, that people want answers for as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, Sean as the
That's the whole
manager
point
would
of us
manage
being
that.
I don't get a lot of emails directly from you guys, if that's just a sense of it. I really don't. I mean, usually the president and the vice president, and then there was a specific issue, for example, you know, Brian, the ordinance is on the agenda tomorrow. You had a very specific question. Lisa's had a couple, but it's not like I'm being inundated. I don't want anyone to think that I'm getting millions of emails and I'm spending all this. It doesn't happen very often.
Okay, so at this point in time, why don't, we already said we were going to send this back to committee. You guys can, without Kristen in the room getting paid, you can tool around with this conversation during that time and land on what you want to present back next month. Or does that sound good?
It would be helpful to have the examples that we've discussed already, what kinds of things, emails are being sent to Kristen, or I want old zoning maps from Don. Don't talk to Don directly, first send a message to Sean. I mean, that type of examples.
Okay, so during the ACT committee meeting, if you've got some examples of redundancies that you can help highlight for the committee, that would be nice. Bring that along. Okay.
I'm not sure how successful the ACT committee is going to be in resolving all of these to your satisfaction and the satisfaction of, you know, Sean. And I mean,
That's the process. I mean, you know, if we're going to send it, either we put it on discussion.
you guys don't want to work on it again, was my point. You want.
Well,
that's
they're
the-
going to come to the ACT committee with an update. So that they'll come back.
Okay, that's the
with,
part I
with
missed.
things to review. The process would be to go back through unless we talk about it tomorrow night again.
No.
If they whip it around that fast, or just go back to ACT committee, talk about it at ACT, and then bring it back here to work session next
If
month.
they're coming back
Okay.
with another proposal, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, to your point, we have a borough solicitor, employment counsel, bond counsel, borough engineer, Pannoni, Remington Berwick, Atlas Engineering, Tom Comita, and Mealy. Out of that list of 8, only probably one person gets a phone call, and that would be Kristen. You know, out of the 7 of us up here, I don't think anybody's ever called Tom Comita. You know, I mean, but I'm just saying, there's 8 things. It's just easier to just get your answer straight on instead of bothering anybody else. And Kristen just said,
She
we hardly
deserves-
ever talk to us.
Well, that's good feedback to have from Kristen.
Okie dokie. I think we know what we're doing. Going back to committee, when you guys will come up with another proposal. Okay. Is that good? Any public comment on that? All righty then. Final thing, and this I'm going to recommend we take back to committee because we have an organizational chart. This is an organizational chart that would probably live on our website as opposed to changing the actual, what's it in? The administrative code. I mean, we'll have to correct if there's anything wrong with the administrative code, the one in the administrative code, we'll have to do that. But this was more for the public. And Stephen, I don't know if you want to talk about it anymore. There was a proposal here, but then Stephen, just a couple days ago, you sent back a totally different proposal. So I'm guessing we should probably take this back to committee rather than hash it out here. What do you think?
The only criticism I had was that there's a lot of different departments, and I was just wondering if we could clarify or identify a link within them. And I just suggested alternative ways to format pretty much the same thing, so it's not a substantial change. Thank you.
I suggest we take it back to committee. Any objection?
To your point, Ms. Kearns, there's missing pieces on the organizational chart. Like, for example, I'm looking at our administration, beautiful people that work for us, but two are missing, Will Williams and Nick Fink. No pictures, can't find them, but they should be on the organizational chart. It was so hard to see that on the internet, on the copy. It's hard to tell. I want to make sure that dispatch reports to the borough manager. Even though the police run dispatch, it falls under his jurisdiction based on the administrative code. I couldn't see. You can blow it up on the computer.
Yeah, I think it's a solid one. You kind of want to know how the borough is organized. You get that with most companies. I know even with the Federal Aviation Administration, you can go to different websites and see, what offices report to what and what sub offices there are, and then you can drill down to the sub offices. So I think that's what this was designed to do, to give the public more awareness, because right now they're not going to drill down into our administrative code in order to see an organizational chart. So I think that was the idea.
I think it also, yeah, I think it also is very helpful for people to see these are functions that the borough does offer or have. They control, they administer, whatever, right? And so if they have a question, okay, number one, this is something the borough will handle. Number two, this is where I need to go to get an answer. Maybe it's borough council, maybe we direct them there. But I think from my own experience in the private sector, org charts, I refer to them multiple times a week in a far-flung organization like my former company, but it let me know this is who is responsible for something and this is who I can.
I get that. It's just, who's it for? Because it's really clear on our website, when you go to the departments page, who the administrator is. Sean's there as borough manager. I just don't know what this exercise is actually helping with.
Well, we always had an organizational chart to work off of. As Jerry said, it's out of date right now because we've added 2 departments, 2 managers, not directors. We have a manager. Us. Yeah. And if the public want to pull it up, the sustainability manager, because he can't be a director because we didn't change the administrative code. The analyst, the data analyst, it's a manager that has, nobody can find him, but we're paying him every week.
So it's accountability then, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
On
all right,
our
that,
chart.
that answers my question.
Yeah.
Initially, it was selfish motivation. We had our orientation in January, and I saw the org chart. I'm kind of a visual person, so I looked at it and I saw a lot of boxes related to maintenance and a lot of boxes related to legal, but it didn't clarify to me who was who and who was functioning as what. So I think this is a big step in the right direction of just notifying or identifying what parts of the organization, especially for new people. But it also helps the public, as you mentioned, to identify where to go or how does this work? What's the relation with this person? I've also looked at org charts from motor vehicle department from Pennsylvania, because someone called me and I wasn't sure that they were really connected to the department. I looked it up and sure enough, on the org chart, they were, yes, this is the individual that called you. So it's bona fide. Yeah, thank you.
So again, I suggest we take this back to committee. We good on that? All right. Oh, any public comment? I didn't think so. All right, that wraps up.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's move to other business. Discuss directing the solicitor to create an amendment to the zoning ordinance to regulate and create setbacks for vape shops from other vape shops, schools, bus stops, or parks, and to make amendments to the zoning ordinance to improve protection from light pollution in residential neighborhoods. And this was based off a comment from a woman at, was it public safety or public works? Or was it the beginning? And there was the smart growth? Smart growth. All right. Well, you could talk about it then, Jared.
Is now the right time?
Yeah. This gentleman here was, yeah.
Oh, Jared, hello.
Mark Umile, 316 North New Street. Lola Birkenstock brought up this motion at the SMART committee meeting, but I am one of her neighbors in Ward 7. So I also filed an official complaint. So I live at 316 North New Street with my wife and my 10-year-old son. I'm a lifelong Westchester resident, was born and raised here, went to school elsewhere, but I live here, raising a family here. I have taught at Henderson High School for the last 24 years. So I have a particularly biased interest toward the welfare, I guess, of children. So recently, a vape smoke shop has opened on our street corner at West Washington and North New Street. And it's sort of an abomination. It is brightly lit at all hours. There are neon signs lit up advertising only smoke and vape products, nothing else. For many years, we've lived at that residence for many years. I bought the home in 2012. There was a like grocery store bodega on that corner. And it closed down after a while and reopened under, I think, different ownership or something. But then it was closed for a while, and quite recently this vape shop has opened. That is a bus stop, school bus stop. Children of all ages are directly in front of that store, waiting for their bus and then getting off their bus there. There is a school a block up, St. Agnes, a playground there. Where I live at 316 North New Street, it's around the corner from it. I back up to Veterans Memorial Park. So it's in proximity to all of these places. I don't even know how it was approved as a business in a residential neighborhood. Not against smoking, whatever people's vices are. Certainly, that's fine. The borough certainly has plenty of smoke shops and vape shops. I don't even know how it's sustainable to have any more of them. But the proximity to this, it's in a residential area, the proximity to children, and it's brightly lit up. I mean, that's another whole issue. I don't know how it's not in violation of the light ordinances. I am not directly affected by that because I live around the corner on New Street, but I know Lola Birkenstock has spoken about this. She lives directly across the street. And other residents, I'm sure they are impacted by the light pollution. So, all of those things. Thank you.
So I think what the commentary was last week was that although we cannot, like, this particular location was approved because it was grandfathered in because it was a business, even though there was a bit of time where there was nothing in there, but that it was still always a business. So they were able to go in as a business. And because of that, we are not able to exclude any particular legal business from being a business in a business zoned type building, right? So that's kind of how that particular location got there. So what I believe Sean counseled us on is that what we can do is create stipulations and regulations surrounding things that location would have, or future locations would have to adhere to be able to actually be that type of location. And that's where the setbacks and school distances and things like that can come into play. That would be the way that we could control something like that, so you don't have your children at the bus stop across the street. It won't necessarily help your particular location that you're talking about, but it could help for the future. So that's kind of how it got here. Yeah.
So this would be for any future vape shop then, correct? Because there's a light pollution, that should have been, I guess, already taken into consideration. Harb or whomever, they would have to go and get some type of sign approved though, right?
No, I wouldn't have to go through Harb because it's not in the
You would
district.
still have to get a sign approved.
Yeah, but what Kristen's here, she's more attuned to that. When we let a business open in the borough, we set certain parameters for how bright their lights can be. Even if you just think about, we just talked about the Melton Center. We talked about how bright that sign can be and how it has to tone down at a certain time. So it doesn't disturb the neighborhood. I don't know why, Kristen, maybe you can help us with this, why our ordinances can't be injected into the neighbor's complaint that.
So right now that,
come down.
yeah, what's there now is going to be, if you go and adopt an ordinance and classify vape shops as a separate distinct use from just a retail shop, which I shared an example ordinance that I did for Cowan Township last year. They were being inundated by this use. And their concern was not, well, they didn't want any more vape shops because they had so many along Route 30 in Thorndale, but they also were concerned, and I'm sort of going beyond maybe what your concern is that there was a concern that if marijuana becomes legal, and there's shops that are selling right now, there's cannabinoid products that are legal. And I don't know if that's what's being sold at these vape shops, but they wanted to make sure that they had, not knowing what the state legislation may be, that they have something in their ordinance that identifies where that location is going to be in the event that the state law doesn't preempt it, which I think the state law will ultimately preempt it the way it did for medical marijuana dispensaries and grower processors. That law tells you basically where you have to allow and not allow them. So that may happen, but they wanted to get ahead of it and just have something in their code to address where that use would go. But what we did was we defined a vape shop differently than just a retail store. We distinguished between a convenience store, and we define a convenience store very specifically from a vape shop. They're two different uses. And then you can have, if you have a substantial government interest that you're trying to protect, you can have set standards. So what I said to Sean was, I would need to understand, we can't just be that, and I'm not making light of it. I wouldn't want my children to be at this bus stop either. I don't want what I'm going to say to be taken that way, but what is it? What's the harm you're trying to mitigate? If, is it that you don't want them to see that there's a shop that sells vape products? Like, what I asked Sean was, we would have to have some sort of evidence based on police reports or other things you're trying to stop by having that use within 500 feet of a school or 500 feet of a playground. So we really do, and in Cowan they did. They had their police come and testify to potential negative impacts that they were seeing from these types of shops and their proximity potentially to those uses that you might want to protect. So I don't want you just to put an ordinance together knowing that it potentially could be challenged. We'd have to have a conversation and a dialogue with potentially your police to see what would be some of the negative impacts that you're trying to prevent or mitigate by having these regulations. You can't just adopt an ordinance without, it's a restriction on people's rights and their property rights. And so you have to have a rational planning purpose to have these restrictions. So we'd have to talk through those. But yes, there are examples out there. Swarthmore Borough just adopted one. There was a newspaper article about it, and I think somebody's actually challenging it. But it can be done. It's just something you have to think through. We can't just arbitrarily set standards. But as far as the particular one that's there now, it came in as a non-conforming retail use that was able to continue. We treat a vape shop like we treat any other retail store, and it was permitted to go into that location. I'm not aware of what your standards are on the lights. I don't know that off the top of my head. So I do think that we should ask Aaron to check specifically what the zoning code has to say about the light and whether there's a current regulation in place today that potentially the sign would be in violation of.
And Aaron Sean and I met with Aaron today specifically about the West Washington, and I didn't bring my notes, which I should have. But yes, like you said, it was grandfathered in as retail, although it wasn't a smoke shop then. I forget the exact term, but if it's like a natural progression of retail, because I think they did sell cigarettes, so now they could, which also then raises the question of a natural progression then of marijuana.
You don't define retail stores differently based on what you're selling. A retail store is a retail store is a retail store. So
Right.
whether they sold cigarettes and are now selling this, it doesn't matter. If they sold gumballs and they're a retail store, they can now sell vape based on your current ordinance.
Correct. So we couldn't stop them there. And the residents were also upset that there was no notification. It just all of a sudden there was a big vape shop. But Aaron is looking at the lights. He's had conversations with them also about the neon signs in the windows. You'll notice the one window on Washington is now closed. That's because our codes people were there, and there's some kind of a restriction. So much of the window can't be covered up or can't be, and that one there wasn't enough to be able to see through. So that is permanently closed now. They're also looking at the other sign on Washington. I think he's got some time to figure out what happens there. The owner is on notice for a few of these things, and Aaron is well aware of it, and I will continue to follow up with him as well. But that doesn't negate the need for an ordinance if we want to moving forward.
So
It wouldn't affect
what I'm thinking, and I don't know, and is to split this into two things, send the light issue back to public. No, yeah, wait, where does Aaron go? Building and house. So he goes to smart growth, right? Or does he go to?
Smart growth.
He goes, so send the light part to smart growth and send the ordinance part to public safety to talk with Chief Lee, because he attends the public safety, and kind of talk through what potential could be collection data and things like that to do that. Does that sound reasonable to you guys?
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Any comment? You have comment there?
I did. I was just wondering if the Westchester Area School District is aware that this bus stop is right in front of the vape shop. Perhaps they could look at that and move the stop if they're not aware of it.
I'm not sure the district is aware.
Because the vape shop did open after school had already started and they'd already set all the bus routes.
Change that I mean, they're pretty flexible about it. I think it's worth having a conversation with them about it.
I was going to say the same thing. We've changed bus stops before.
Yeah, especially if it's a lot of the residents, the parents, there, because that's untenable.
Would you mind giving us your name again? We got your address for the record.
Mark, M-A-R-C, Umile, U-M-I-L-E, 316 North New Street. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course I did. A representative,
Any other public,
sorry,
sorry.
Representative Chris Paley has also introduced legislation to have these types of shops be 1,000 feet away from schools. And I would like to add that consider, it was mentioned about tobacco, we might also consider guns, alcohol, porn shops to also have some sort of, okay.
Regulated pretty stringently and you're going to take care of. Any other comments from those in attendance? Okay. Good conversation. We'll move to the next motion to award bid to is it USALCO, USALCO and USALCO? Okay. I've been listening to you for 2 years and yeah, in the amount of $279,298.60 for aluminum chloride hydroxide sulfate. And this
This fell under wastewater during Public Works, and Mr. Mitchell is doing honor guard duty this evening and tomorrow. And he asked Mr. Anderson to open up the bids and to tally up the bids and present it to us. Or this, because this was a in-between meeting and the bids were out there and be opened. So you want to speak on the two bids? Because this was the numbers that came out.
Don Anderson, Interim Director, Public Works. Yeah, the bids came in last Thursday after the Public Works Committee meeting. And the responsible bidder for aluminum chloride hydroxide sulfate was, would you say that name was USALCO?
I was going to ask you.
Brian said it right earlier. Brian, what is it? USALCO. Okay. So they were the responsible bidder for that. And then the other responsible bidder for soda ash was Thatcher. And the bid tabulations are up there. I think, Sean put them up there. Do you have them? No? It's going to be hard to see. Big screen's going. So they are responsible bidders, lowest bidder.
And I asked the question, since it's the same company, basically the same two products, one of the products is less stronger than the other one. That's why it's less expensive. Well, Delco, it's less stronger.
Less stronger. That's right, Bernie.
Hey, it's also water, WOODER.
And crick. Don't forget crick.
Crick.
All right.
It's less stronger or weaker.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, that's why.
Any questions, anybody?
It's the same product, different price.
One question, because the item C has terms of a 2-year contract where there are terms on the other business.
The other one's a 1-year contract.
Okay.
This is the first year that Sean went with a 2-year contract. So he wanted to make sure he listed it there.
That was it. Just for.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
All right. And any questions from those in attendance? So we just talked about both B and C. Okay. And we're good to move those to consent? All right. Okay. Any other business? All right. All right. 9:22 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.